Naruto slashed at one arrow before he quickly slid underneath 3 other arrows. Wolf came charging at him, but Naruto wasn't interested in Wolf anymore. Naruto jumped over the howling beast before charging at Lamb. Lamb quickly noticed his intent, as did Wolf. Wolf quickly turned around and charged for Naruto's backside. As he was ready to bite the blonde in the back, Wolf felt pain on his chin as a Naruto clone kicked him upwards. Lamb saw Wolf fly into the air before she looked back, as Naruto suddenly appeared in front of her. Naruto slammed his sword down, but Lamb blocked his strike with her bow. Naruto struck once, twice, thrice, as Lamb countered with her bow as best she could. Lamb wasn't alien to close-quarters combat, but against someone like Naruto it was actually a lot harder than she had thought. The pressure of his blade against her bow was strangely exhilarating. Lamb released a kick, but Naruto jumped over it. He had just enough time to see Wolf coming down over him. Naruto kicked Lamb away before he held up his sword, and Wolf bashed his teeth against it. Both Naruto and Wolf released countless waves of spiritual energy from their bodies. Naruto had just enough time to see Lamb backflip before aiming her bow at Naruto, releasing 3 white arrows from her bow. Naruto didn't have the time to be surprised as Wolf flung him horizontally through the air. The arrows came closer and closer as Wolf grinned. He won't be able to dodge that, Wolf thought as the arrows struck Naruto only for him to vanish into smoke. Wolf staggered. What? Wolf thought. Right above you, Mr. Big and Bad, Naruto shouted as Wolf looked up. He dashed from Naruto's blade, but as soon as Naruto touched the ground, he vanished hard enough to pick up dust. Wolf touched around before he heard a crash. He turned and noticed Naruto quickly over Lamb, assaulting her with strikes. Wolf moved to intercept. However, he stopped for a moment. For a split second when Naruto slammed his sword into Lamb's bow, he could see it. He could hear it. The chimes, the pulsing. He could see it all and hear it all. Wolf couldn't stop the smile on his face. Whether the brat knew it or not, he was getting there. Brat! Wolf howled as he charged at Naruto. As Naruto engaged Lamb, he quickly turned around. He noticed Lamb jump in the air before flipping around for an overhead drop kick. Naruto steeled himself as he held up his sword with one arm before blocking Wolf's headbutt with the other. Naruto panted before he jumped slightly in the air before slamming his foot into Wolf's face, while punching Lamb in the face, knocking her away. As Lamb flew through the air, she straightened her vision before firing 3 arrows as Naruto, before pulling her bow back even longer. Toritsuke Senritsu. Mounting dread, Lamb called out as she fired a well-placed shout. Naruto quickly kicked Wolf away before parrying the first 3 shots. However, as Naruto was ready to block the 4th one, he widened his eyes as it suddenly gained a burst of speed and slammed into his body, sending him flying into the wall with a mighty crash. Naruto slammed out the other side of the wall and chuckled. Damn, even when I try to kick it up they just match me. I hate those 2, Naruto said before he heard a voice. Kah, they aren't so special, Kyuubi said, bringing himself into the fight. Naruto gave a painful laugh. Well, you're not the one fighting them, Naruto said. Kyuubi smirked as he opened one of his eyes. Well, whose fault is that? Kyuubi asked. Naruto coughed out a laugh as he groaned. Nay, Kyuubi. Naruto was more than ready to say, however the glowing white fox quickly and utterly stopped him. Save it, Kit. Responsibility, and you have never held a common theme. You have always stuck to your guns, and because 2 spirits tell you otherwise shouldn't change your dumb ass now? Kit, I will give you a hint to the answer you need. What is the difference between being the summoner to the shinigami and the Hokage? Kyuubi asked before utterly going silent. Naruto flinched from where he was seated. He looked at the ground. The difference between being the summoner of the god of death and being the leader of a village. Naruto could actually name several things, but they were all minuscule things that children would say. One's of living people or another leads dead people. One uses chakra or another uses Hanshao. Stupid things like that. Seconds seemed to pass by for Naruto like hours of the day. Naruto closed his eyes. He thought of everything he had done so far in his life. Everything that had been leading up to this point. The decisions that he had made. the decisions he would have made, and they all led back to one thing. Naruto opened his eyes and glanced back to his sword. Now he understood. Now he could see why he had done what he had done. He could understand why Shin wasn't pleased with him. Naruto quickly raised his thumb and bit it before trailing it on his seal. Kuchiyoshi. No jutsu, Naruto said, calling out the shinigami. Naruto came face to face with his glaring presence as the god of death glared down at Naruto. His beady eyes took in Naruto's form, but once they looked into Naruto's eyes, he frowned. I still don't know the process, Naruto said. However, Shin could tell that Naruto wasn't finished. But, Shin, I just want people to be happy. I mean, I want to be happy too, but I like making people happy. I like thinking that the powers you offered me were good for someone. That it brought just a measure of peace to their lives, that the world can't offer them anymore, you know? Does that make me selfish? I don't know. Maybe it does. I've never been good at explaining myself. What I'm trying to say is, I don't know if life and death offer balance. Then what happens when all life is erased? Naruto asked, scratching his scalp before sighing. He looked up and noticed the shinigami still looking at him. And that Shikyo is the process. What happens when all life is erased? Creation and rebirth. The new takes over the qualities of the old, and everything comes back into balance. Chakra isn't life. Uzumaki Naruto. Chakra is merely a byproduct of life. It's not from the chakra that people die, but from the exertion of chakra on their bodies and their will to live that makes it kill them. Anyone can live without chakra so long as the spirit and soul do not die. Then the physical aspect will not die, Shin said as Naruto nodded slowly. I will find a way to keep the balance. I swear it, Shin. I will keep the balance. I never go back on my word. That's my nindo, my shinobi way, Naruto said while Shin snorted. However, despite his snort, he floated over to Naruto's blade and tapped it with his finger. You are the summoner of the shinigami, Shikyo. While decisions are important, desires and balance are what govern the planes of existence, Shin said before fading out. Naruto smiled as he felt a white light cover his mind. He looked up and noticed Pakura, Dan, Surin, Gari, Yahiko, and Kimimaro looking at him. All my life, I felt like I was the only one who could do anything. That everything solely rested on me. Iro-senin often told me I was different from the rest. That I would be the one to look for this peace that he talked about, ever since Sasuke trade Konoha. I thought I was the only one who could do anything to stop him. I always thought about myself, you know. Iruka-sensei, Jiji, Tuchi Oji-kan, Ayama-chan, were the first people who taught me that I wasn't alone, and that I didn't have to do things on my own anymore. I guess we all never sensed was because being that close was scary datbao. Pretty stupid, right guys? Naruto asked. The six looked at each other before smiling. Yeah, it was pretty damn stupid, but we won't hold it against you since as shinobi we all have felt that way in one aspect or another, Pakura said as Naruto glanced up. It would be awesome to sync up with you guys, Naruto said with a wider smile. The six could match. 6 is maybe a bit too much, Pakura said as she fell back into the blade. Kimimaro followed her. Yahiko followed as well. So did Dan with a wave, leaving out Surin and Gari. Naruto looked at the deceased Kiri-nin and Iwa-nin. Surin-san, Gari-san, it would be awesome if we could sync Databao, Naruto said, making Surin and Gari smile. They both nodded before they fell into Naruto's body. Naruto tensed before he took a calming breath and opened his eyes. You both settled in? Naruto asked with a grin. On their own, Surin and Gari gave each other a nod. Ready when you are, Shikyo-sama, they both said as Naruto took up his blade. Well, alright, it's time for round 2, Naruto said with a grin as he opened his eyes, showing the white flames of Hanshao exploding forth. Aye, they both said simultaneously. Meanwhile, Lamb and Wolf waited at a ledge, with Lamb holding an arrow at the entrance they had tossed Naruto through. Was that too hard? Lamb asked. Wolf snorted as he looked at the entrance. If that was enough to kill him, then he's truly not worthy of being the Shinigami summoner, Wolf said with a growl. Lamb gave a small nod, though Wolf looked at her. Interesting. Looked like someone had already proven him worthy. However, neither Lamb nor Wolf was ready for a shout. A thunderous shout came from the entrance of the hole they had just put Naruto in. A white light blasted from the hole as Lamb and Wolf were forced to cover their eyes in surprise. What the hell? Wolf asked before the light and shout finally settled down. Lamb quickly opened her eyes and noticed Naruto come out of the hole, however. His eyes. Those silver eyes and that silver hair. It wasn't even blonde anymore. Naruto stared at the both of them, and for once, Lamb felt her bow trembling in her hands. Lamb fire! Wolf shouted at her, forcing Lamb out of her thoughts as she unconsciously let go of the arrow. The arrow sailed through the air. What are we looking at? Lamb and Wolf heard a voice ask them. They turned their left and noticed Naruto looking at them both with a small smile. They turned back and noticed the arrow lodged in the wall. No Naruto in sight. What? How did he get to us so fast? Wolf asked, but before he could blink, Naruto pressed his hand to Wolf's mask. Rasenjiki, spiraling explosion, Naruto said calmly. Lamb gasped as Wolf was sent flying from a thunderous explosion. Wolf crashed into the wall as Lamb turned around. Naruto quickly fired a punch at Lamb's mask. Lamb ducked underneath punch in surprise of how much she had dodged, that on instinct. However, she wasn't ready to be kicked across the face from the ledge. She slammed into the ground and coughed. Wolf quickly floated up as Naruto looked down at them. You both are going to become mine. Right now, I will keep the balance. On my name as Uzumaki Naruto, Naruto shouted before he vanished out of sight. Lamb quickly grabbed her bow and hopped to her feet, but as soon as she got to her feet, she felt Naruto sweep her feet. I can't keep track of him. Where is this speed coming from? Lamb thought as Wolf raced to assist. Naruto easily grabbed Wolf before hurling the spirit over his shoulder. All of this seemed to happen in the span of about 10 seconds as Wolf quickly righted himself. Lamb did the same. She quickly fired 3 arrows at Naruto before firing another 5 sets of 3 in succession. Naruto vanished from the first set, then the second, then the third, fourth, and fifth. Lamb gasped before Naruto appeared in front of her. He held a hand to her chest. Raisin Bakusui, spiraling explosion water, Naruto said before Lamb coughed as Naruto grinned pure water into her body. Lamb could almost feel her body tear from the water before it exploded, sending her into the air. Naruto turned his head and noticed Wolf charging at him. Naruto dashed at him too. He cocked his fist back as he and Wolf met head-on, fist to headbutt. Wolf growled at him. How did you get so strong? Wolf asked as Naruto smiled. I found balance databao, Naruto said as Wolf widened his white eyes. Naruto quickly kneed Wolf in the chin, sending him into the air also. With both Lamb and Wolf in the air, Naruto quickly slapped his hands together. Let's go, Surin Gari, Naruto said as Surin and Gari exploded from his body. Hi Shikio-sama, they said as Naruto jumped to the ceiling, passing Lamb and Wolf, a Rasengan in his hand, while Surin ran up the left wall, and Gari ran up the right wall. Surin held the hand signs for a water technique, while Gari prepped his hand for his explosion art. Lamb and Wolf gasped as Lamb tried to aim her bow, but she couldn't figure out who to fire at. Uzumaki Haiden Aogi, Rasenbaku Suiryoku, No Jutsu, Maelstrom Sacred Art, Spiraling Explosive Water Force Technique. Naruto, Surin and Gari shouted as Lamb and Wolf saw a flash of light as Naruto, Surin and Gari crashed into them. Naruto sucked in his legs and slammed his Rasengan into Lamb and Wolf as Surin and Gari slammed into them as well. The light exploded over the room as the jutsu quickly began to cover the entire area. The explosion poured over the entire area and even to rooms beyond the room they fought in. Just a while off, Sasuke shouted. Get down! Sasuke shouted as the cavern exploded in thunderous force. It was so thunderous Sasuke accidentally dropped Makoto, while Haku and Zabuza dropped to the ground. Kakashi grabbed Yugao as they fell down. Komachi quickly held Karen and Shino, while the Naruto clone gasped in surprise. Whatever the boss was doing, it had to have been big. Extremely big. Above the cavern, Gurren gasped as her crystals shattered like glass from the floor, nearly giving in beneath them. People screamed in fright before Gurren turned. "Ibiki, Iruka, I need you guys!" Gurren shouted. However, as the rocks quickly began to cover the people, everyone heard slashing. They looked up and noticed the rocks fall to the ground in ease and away from anyone and everyone. Gurren looked up before she noticed a woman with silver hair and silver eyes looking at the sky. Gurren shivered as she felt the mysterious aura radiating from the woman. "Gurren-san, Kushina's gone," Iruka said. Gurren barely heard him before the woman turned around. "I take it you needed some help?" Kushina asked with a small smile, while Gurren just dumbly nodded. Yura gasped in awe. Iruka and Ibiki couldn't even find their breath. Shikamaru could feel the beads of sweat falling from his face. This had Naruto written all over it. Troublesome. After some time, Lamb and Wolf opened their eyes. They noticed Naruto sitting next to them with a wide, battered grin on his face. "I take it we were defeated?" Lamb asked. Naruto rubbed the back of his head while Wolf groaned before floating back to Lamb's position. "Those were some interesting attacks. How did you pull them off?" Lamb asked. "A little trust goes a long way," Naruto replied as Lamb and Wolf glanced to each other. "You both tried to teach me balance. Life and death are equal. Never one without the other," Naruto said. The kindred looked at each other in surprise before Lamb reclaimed her bow and knelt before Naruto. Wolf gave a soft grumble before, with great effort, he bowed his head. "The kindred are yours to command, Shikio-sama. Use us as you see fit, and as long as you have balance in heart and judgment, you have a servant in kindred," they both said. Naruto gave a small grin before holding out his hand. Lamb looked down at it for a moment before she took it. Naruto sighed. "I might be new to this whole balance thing, but if I do anything out of line, then I ask for the kindred to help me correct that immediately, until I am able to better do it on my own. I will be your master to the best of my ability, Databeo," Naruto said, fisting his chest for good measure. As Naruto stood, Lamb and Wolf rose as well. Lamb, without a word, touched the seal on his hand before she faded into it. Naruto and Wolf looked at each other before Wolf smirked. "Not bad, brat." "Not bad? I enjoyed this fight." "It won't be in your favor ever again," Wolf said as he touched Naruto's seal before fading into it as well. This easily left Naruto alone as the seal on his hand changed again. This time, an arch appeared over the center of the seal just before dissipating. Naruto smiled. Not even a minute later, Naruto heard footsteps. He turned around and noticed Sasuke, Komachi, Haku, Zabuza, Karen, Kakashi, Yugao, and some unknown man come through. He also noted Makoto unconscious on Sasuke's back. The Uchiha and the Uzumaki looked at each other. "I guess I'm not needed." "Xiao," the Naruto clone said before he poofed out. Sasuke surveyed the damage. "Only you, Dobe. Only you," Sasuke said with a smirk, while Naruto grinned. "No need to be jealous, Sasuke," Naruto fired back. Having retrieved the memories from his clone, Naruto knew exactly where Konan was as the woman went looking for Yura. Naruto prayed hard that Konan would find her. He could only sigh before turning around. "Well, let's all get the hell out of here," Naruto said with a smile. "Best idea I have heard. All day," Karen cried. Some of the group chuckled before Naruto held out his hand. He took a calming breath. "Jikyugami no Jutsu," Naruto said as the portal quickly opened. After Naruto came Sasuke. Then one by one everyone entered the portal as it closed, taking them from caverns, just as the rocks from the ceiling came crumbling down. Now all that was left was for Conan to find Uzumaki Yuri and escape somehow. Though even through the caverns, not even Conan could have prepared herself for who was also still in the caverns, walking. May.
Quote, "Never stop fighting until you arrive at your destined place, that is, the unique you. Have an aim in life, continuously acquire knowledge, work hard, and have perseverance to realize the great life." By A. P. J. Abdul Kalam.
Conan grunted as she quickly dodged rock after rock that fell from the cracks at the earth underneath her feet, effortlessly forced her to hug the right wall for balance. "Yuri, where are you?" Conan asked. She growled as her fingers trailed the cracked walls. The fires that blasted from the halls startled her. Honestly, if Conan had woken up to this, then she might have thought she was an entertaining host in the bowels of hell. The entire cave system seemed to be madness incarnate. It was like an angry animal. The cracks on the earth beneath her feet only told her that the floor wasn't going to be much of a floor in a couple of minutes, if not a couple of seconds. Conan had wiped the sweat from her brow as she pushed from the wall. She grunted as she forced her feet to move. Truth be told, Conan wasn't sure why she felt so desperate to find Yuri. To find one of the sources of her capture, one of the sources of the reasons that she was even in this very predicament. Yet, Conan couldn't stand it. She couldn't stand the very notion that Uzumaki Yuri would die. The very idea didn't seem appropriate at all to Conan. She didn't like it. In addition to that, Uzumaki Naruto trusted her. Conan didn't know what to feel about someone like Naruto. Meeting Yahiko had essentially challenged everything she had believed in and about Nagato, Akatsuki, and even herself. She couldn't even hold up her head when Yahiko talked about his disappointed he was in them. That had actually stung worse than any kunai injury could have. It's not like Conan was looking for any type of redemption. She knew her sins, and she was sure that those sins would continue as long as she drew breath. But perhaps not letting Yuri die was a step in that right direction. Conan wasn't sure what warranted Naruto to be trusting in her of all people, but of the many investigations that went on for the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, one always said that he was trusting to a fault. Well, perhaps not a fault, but he was trusting to the point that he should trust in certain types of people. And yet, it was that trust that allowed Conan to move through this collapsing stone hell. Conan kept running and running. The paper trail she had made had long since been either obstructed or destroyed by the panic of people, the fall of stones, or the fires of explosions of the caverns. She only had a very limited idea of where she was going. She looked down and noticed the ground was split right down the middle. She jumped over the crease of the floor and landed to the other side. This proved to be the wrong thing to do, as from just her added weight, the floor began to crack even more. Conan widened her eyes as the cracks started to widen. She kicked what little chakra she had into her heels and propelled herself forward. From the force of her projection, the ground gave way and began to crumble at her heels. The ground followed her pace as fast as it could, while it crumbled to the depths below. Conan cursed as she kept moving. The walls seemed to blur from her vision. She could actually feel the ground beneath her feet falling, but she couldn't turn her head around. She didn't have that luxury. As if to answer any silent prayer Conan might have made, the passage to another area was in her view. Conan gave a small smile at the sight, however. That smile couldn't have lasted long as her eyes took in the room and its groundless abyss. It was the room with the staircase. The same room the Naruto clone had found them in. Conan dared not stop, but what could she do? Her mind racing as fast as it could, she grabbed the edge of the entrance to the endless abyss. She had no idea where it led, and she was sure that the floor the stairs used to stop on was nothing more than a pile of rubble at this point. Her heels kicked off some of the rock into the abyss. She didn't have time to think. She turned and noticed the ground behind her tearing away. She looked up. She didn't have the chakra to fly out. Conan took a small breath and released a sigh. Going backwards was death. Going forward was unknown. Conan was never really one to hate anyone, but right now she really hated these people, and this cave system. People always called her an angel. Let's hope she knew how to truly fly. Without any more thoughts, Conan. Walked off the edge? In an instant she heard a mighty crash behind from where she had been standing. That didn't last long, however, before her ears were filled with air pressure as she plummeted into the abyss. The air wrapped around her body tightly. She could feel the flaps of her clothes through the air. Conan opened her eyes, and she noticed thousands of stones falling either beside her or past her. Her eyes widened when she actually saw the walls to her left and right cracking just like the ground of the floor she had been on previously. This cavern wasn't just collapsing, it was exploding. Conan had to quickly find Yuri. Please let this lead in the right direction," Conan thought to herself as she continued falling down into the darkness. She had no idea what was in store for her down there, but if it led to Yuri, then that was fine. XL. Meanwhile, on the outside, Gurren quickly shouted, "All of you get away from the house!" Gurren cried as people made their way away from the wooden house as it effortlessly dropped to the ground in a resounding crash. Each person made every attempt to get as much cover behind Gurren's crystal wall as they could. Everyone else watched as the house, shack, living arrangement dropped to the ground in a mighty crash. The mountainous hill that covered the back part of house quickly collapsed on itself. The dust, dirt, and earth flooded people's eyes, ears, and bodies. The thunderous crashes of earth were for but a moment before silence reigned through the valley. People slowly opened their eyes. What was once a place of captivity and endless torture had been reduced to rubble in a few moments. The dust settled, and there was no sign of the fallen order or any of their accomplices. Everyone was silenced. Sasame, Amaru, and Kotoheim stood in awe. It could not have been more obvious than for Kotoheim. It had worked. That plan had actually worked. Pretty soon screams and cheers were heard over the valley as the captives celebrated their escape. Friends, husbands, wives, children, and even some possible enemies laughed, hugged, and clapped together as tears spilled upon the ground. Even in the rain, even in the thunder, the gray clouds couldn't dampen anyone's spirit. In fact, some of the former captives opened their mouths, allow the raindrops to fall inside. Who knew the outside was so wonderful? Chiach, troublesome. Do they all have to be so loud? Shikamaru asked as he picked one of his ears. Iruka gave a soft grin, as did Ibiki, but no one was able to speak for long as Gurren turned around. Hurry and round up everyone. Find anyone who is a medic. We're going to need some healers for this, Gurren said. Shikamaru groaned but agreed. Iruka and Ibiki were for it as well. The three quickly moved out and went on their way. Gurren watched them go and turned around just in time to see Yura silently walk towards the rubble. Gurren narrowed her eyes. Kushina gave a calming breath as her silver hair changed back to its fiery red color. Her eyes returned to normal as she rubbed her forehead. That technique sure did leave one hell of a hangover. Kushina-san, the Uzumaki woman, heard her name called and looked over to see she and Fujikaze drop next to her. She blinked in surprise. Not that I'm not happy to see you, Shan, but why are you here? How did you find us? Kushina asked. The former Kumo-nin slowly helped his family to her feet as he wrapped her arm over his shoulder. I left Kumogakure, Kushina-sen. Raikage-sama and the others were understanding, but I have wanted to know my true family, and I wasn't about to be denied. Fujikaze-san and I were actually almost to Konoha before we ran into Gurren-san and her team. We had to find you, she said. Kushina widened her eyes at that. She left his village just to be with the rest of the clan. Kushina didn't know how to feel about that. Sure, she was happy that she considered their family important, but as with Yukimura, blood wasn't the only deciding factor that made family. Kushina was sure that Naruto would have never wanted she to leave his village. The friends he made in that village had to have been family as well, and Kushina agreed, but the damages were done. If she felt confident in leaving, then Kushina would respect it. It was one more mouth to feed, though. Not that Kushina was sure anyone would mind. Well, I guess we'll have to get you comfortable then, Datbane, Kushina replied rather tiredly. She turned her head and noticed Yura walking towards the destroyed house. Yura glanced over all of the rubble. She moved a piece of her wet hair from her face. There was no sign of her lover, nor her sister. Yura had been able to effortlessly ping her chakra through the crowd of people. Yuri and Naruto were nowhere to be found. Actually, she was sure that a few others weren't found as well. Despite everything she had gone through with her family up to this point, Yura could feel the fear and dread seeping into her spirit. Naruto wouldn't die, would he? No, he hadn't become a Kage yet. He couldn't die before then, and her sister. Yuri, you're too stubborn to die, aren't you? Yura shivered out. She swallowed a hard lump. You said you would find her, Newai-san. I don't know what I would do if you both disappeared from my life, Yura said softly, as she looked at the destroyed rubble. She gasped when a hand came over her shoulder. You know our family is too stubborn to die. They're alive. Yura turned around and noticed Guren giving her a reassuring smile. Yura looked at Guren before looking back at the rubble. How can you tell? There is nothing here. I can't even feel either of them, Yura said. Guren was silent for a moment, before another voice came. Well, given that Sochi already can't be sensed by traditional means, then I would say that was obvious databait. Don't worry, Yura. Sochi's alive, and I bet if he is, then Yuri is as well. After all, he takes after Minato and I, Kushina said. Yura blinked as Kushina gave a painful smile while being carried by she and Fujikaze. Yura just gave a small smile and turned around. Yeah, that's true, isn't it? They are fine, Yura said. Guren, she, Fujikaze and Kushina all nodded. Not even a minute later had passed before a bright purple and black portal appeared behind Yura. The five widened their eyes, and their gasps brought about the rest of the gasps coming from the multitude of people as they watched the portal. Shikamaru, Ibiki, and Iruka seemed to be ready to make a move at a moment's notice. As the group of five stood directly in front of the portal, Yura quickly noticed a group of people exit. Her smile got a tad bigger as she saw a large mop of yellow, spiky hair. Behind that mess of yellow hair, even more heads came behind it as the leader took a step out. Yo, Yura-chan, miss me? The person asked as Yura chuckled and moved away a small tear. More than you will ever know, Nai-san, Yura said as Naruto stepped out of the portal with Sasuke, Kakashi, Yugao, Zabuza, Haku, Shino, Karin, Suigetsu, Jugo, Komachi, and lastly Mikoto, who was being carried by Shino. Yura quickly ran into Naruto's arms as the rain made Naruto's hair fall. The rain quickly did the same to the other members of his group. You look bad, Naruto, Guren said, and she didn't mean in the cool way. Naruto just grinned as he rubbed the back of his head. We all ran into some trouble. Glad you could make it, Guren-chan, Naruto said. Guren rolled her eyes as Ibiki, Iruka, and Shikamaru dropped to the ground next to her. Always causing trouble. I can't take my eyes off you for even a second, can I, Naruto? Shikamaru asked. Naruto snorted. I never asked you to look out for me, Shikamaru. I can look after myself just fine, Naruto replied before sending Shikamaru a smirk. Shikamaru chuckled and offered a grin. Naruto then turned. Yo, Iruka-sensei, Naruto said. Iruka folded his arms. You really are something else, Naruto. Do you have any idea how worried we all were? You're lucky you're all right, Iruka said. Naruto grimaced at the comment, but Yura just laughed under him. Iruka just sighed and shook his head. Shino-sensei! Everyone turned and noticed Amaru running for the white-haired man. Shine looked up and noticed his red-haired apprentice running for him. Outwardly, his face contorted into a painful smile as Amaru grabbed him. I finally found you, Sensei. I'm glad you're all right. I thought that you were... Amaru struggled out as Shino smiled. He quickly made attempts to soothe his apprentice with his words. It's all right, Amaru. We're all right now, Shino said. It was then that everyone noticed Sasuke take a step forward. All right is a bit subjective right now. We need medical treatment. Especially Ka-san, Sasuke said. Quickly everyone noticed Mikoto. Kushina grimaced. Mikoto looked even more banged up than anyone else did. Kushina couldn't imagine what her friend had gone through. That is true, Amaru, we will have to get to work. As medics, it is our job to help all these people. Let's get started, Shino said. Amaru quickly perked up and noticed. Hi, Shino-sensei, Amaru said as she helped her master in taking Makoto while some others rapidly prepared a makeshift medical area. All of those with immediate threats or injuries are first in line. Anyone else who can wait will be treated in time, Guren announced. People quickly began to nod as they sorted themselves together. Shino and Amaru quickly gathered up any people who knew about medical methods, whether amateur or expert. All were a welcome addition. Seeing that a lot of the people were being taken care of, Yura turned back to her brother lover. Noe-san, where is Yuri? Yura asked. Naruto looked down at her. Guren turned a small eye while she, Kushina and Fujikaze glanced between Naruto and Yura. Naruto, on his own, looked into Yura's eyes and his heart softened. Funny how he could get lost in those orbs time and time again. In those eyes was the worry for family, and the worry of a sister. Naruto just smiled and laid a small kiss to Yura's lips. Yura took an unexpected breath from her lover. The tenseness in her body relaxed and she calmed her nerves. Funny how things like that could get a person to ease up. It didn't last as long as Yura would have liked as Naruto parted from her. He then smiled. Don't worry, Yura-chan. Yuri will be found. She couldn't be in better hands. I know it, Naruto said. Yura blinked. She attempted to think about her brother's words. While Yura did this, Kushina looked over everyone and narrowed her eyes. There was an interesting lack of a certain blue-haired woman who, most would say, was the enemy of all Jinchuriki and Biju. Kushina looked at her son. He was smiling, and that stupid thumbs up he was giving Yura only made Kushina smile. Sheesh, her son was sometimes too trusting. But then again, Kushina was the very same. In some time or place she might have done the same. Kushina didn't know what Yuri meant to Konan, but it was obvious that the woman was looking for her. Whether it was for Kushina's thanks or Kushina's blade was a separate matter. For now, Kushina would choose to believe in her son. The same could easily be said for Yura as she just smiled. Both trusted Naruto's judgment. With that finished, Naruto, Yura, Guren, and a couple of the more fit or uninjured people helped the more injured folks to the pseudo-medical tents. Guren had made a makeshift crystal shelter for people to escape from the rain, while simultaneously creating another crystal structure to house the weak and injured. Naruto looked over the many injured and uninjured people. So many. There was just so many people. How long had this group been kidnapping people? Even worse was that when looking back at the mountain, Naruto could see many of the souls who were either enemies or victims unlucky enough to not make it out of the mountain. Naruto watched them fill up the spiritual realm. He couldn't even begin to understand what prompted this group to do this, and truth be told, he didn't really care. As Naruto helped some people to the tents, he just looked over. His clones moved through the crowd as they picked up some other people. Another batch for you, Shino-san, Naruto called. The doctor smiled before he nodded. He thanked Naruto and directed the blonde to place some people elsewhere. So, Naruto and any other able-bodied people continued to help. Naruto slowly moved through a crowd of people before he took notice of a sight. A man standing ghostly out in the rain. He frowned as he took a step forward towards a lone man staring up into the gray sky. You'll get even more sick if you stand out here in the rain, Naruto said as he patted the man's shoulder. The man's face turned and Naruto blinked in surprise. You're the fire daimyo, Naruto said as the daimyo of Hai no Kuni just looked at Naruto. Naruto frowned when he looked into the man's eyes. They had lost a lot of their fire and their life. That wouldn't be so bad if I got sick. I could then hopefully die and be with my wife again, he said. Quickly, Naruto was brought back to what had happened to the daimyo's wife at the party near the Hai no Kuni capital. Naruto remembered the woman's blood spilling on the floor. Young man, let me tell you, I wasn't the best daimyo, and I think even some of my own people who agree. I let others make important decisions for me. I was easily intimidated by others. I hated meetings, and above all, I forgot why a daimyo exists. I am unfit to be the daimyo or to continue in any manner. I would be better of Dia. He stopped as Naruto grabbed the man and spun him around violently. He glared into the man's eyes. Naruto slowly snarled, "Don't you dare finish those words. You made it out alive. Hundreds of other people didn't. You think your wife would have been happy to see you die like an animal?" Naruto asked rather angrily. The fire daimyo looked at the ground. "Well, it hardly matters what she would have wanted, now does it? Sorry, young man, but I am not fit to be the daimyo. The daimyo exists for the people, to help the people and to make their lives better. This whole experience has taught me that I lost sight of that once again, and now my wife paid the price for my mistakes. How can I go back, knowing that I had a hand in all of this?" he asked. Naruto remained silent for a moment. "Because no one else can do it, but you. Whoever they pick as the new daimyo isn't going to have experiences what you just experienced. They won't have learned what you have learned. You came to that conclusion on your own, databeo. This next person isn't going to know this. You have to go back. Hino Kunin needs you, old man," Naruto said. The fire daimyo frowned as he looked at the ground. Naruto looked up. He smiled as he watched the deceased wife of the daimyo kiss her husband's cheek, though he was unable to feel it. He placed a hand on the man's shoulder. "I wish I could have her back," he said. Naruto shivered, but he gave a small breath and released it. "No, old man. You know what I've learned. Life and death go hand in hand. When one life ends is the exact moment that another begins. I'm not good at all the philosophical stuff, but I just want you to know that this new life that came into this earth, it is our job to make sure it grows up in an awesome and safe place. No matter how hard the job is," Naruto remarked. The fire daimyo glanced at Naruto. His elderly eyes looked over Naruto's body. Why could he feel immense power flowing through the boy next to him? The fire daimyo shivered when he felt a hand collide with his own. He turned, and he could have sworn that he saw his wife smiling at him.
"Shijimi," he said, unconsciously reaching his hand forward. He touched nothing as he suddenly found himself to only be grabbing at the air. The daimyo turned around. "I suppose I can keep it a little longer. For her sake, Uzumaki Naruto, as well as for that live that came into this world. However, I will do this on one condition," the fire daimyo said. Naruto raised an eyebrow. "Dare I ask, old man? What would that be?" Naruto asked as the fire daimyo looked at him. "On my authority as the fire daimyo, I will return any favor that you ask of me should we ever meet again. You remember that," he said. Naruto blinked as the fire daimyo walked past him and into the crystal tents. Naruto watched him go before he rubbed his wet hair. What was that about? Naruto turned around and noticed Yura walking towards him. Naruto smiled as he kissed her cheek. "Just some rekindling of an old fire. Come on, let's go back inside," Naruto said with a wide grin. Yura blinked. Old fire. But it was raining right now.
XL. Konan coughed heavily as she pulled herself out of a giant lake in the caves. Who knew that long drop would have led her into such a place of convenience? As she pulled herself out of the water, she looked up and she noticed large boulders and stones falling from the giant hole in the ceiling. Konan ripped some of her cloth and dripped her hair as best she could. She didn't know how long she had been falling for, but wherever she ended up, it was most likely the base of the mountain. Despite there being water, it felt a lot hotter, so she was probably closer than she had originally thought. Most likely this section of the caves had been either undiscovered or it had been sealed off for other purposes. Konan surmised. It was the latter only because there was a hallway leading from the giant lake she had just fallen into. "It appears my only options are to move forward," Konan said to herself as she walked through the hallway. It was a little dark, but it held just enough visibility for Konan to be able to find her way. She used the walls for support of her tired legs. She pressed on as best she could. She wasn't wearing any shoes, so one could imagine just how much her feet could have been killing her right now.
Honestly, Konan would have laughed at this situation. Here she was, an Akatsuki member, risking her life for a Jinchuriki. Not that Conan regretted this choice, but she just found the situation to be rather poetic. An old enemy becoming the protagonist's ally and saving them from a terrible fate. Funny how that all worked out in some sense. Conan continued to use the walls for navigation. The further she walked, the hotter it became. Whatever she was getting to, it was definitely a lot hotter than when she had been up the couple of floors in the cave system. Conan had also begun to observe that it was getting brighter. Conan wiped her face. Whether this was from sweat from the heat or water from the lake she wasn't sure, but she kept moving regardless. Her haggard breath escaped her lips while her eyes dripped wearily. She was tired. So tired. Conan had never remembered feeling so tired in her life. She truly just felt like she could fall asleep right from where she was walking, but she didn't dare. She knew that if she didn't keep walking then she would stop and the urge to pass out would be too easy a temptation to come to her. She had to keep searching. Uzumaki Yuri's story didn't end down here. Not underneath a pile of rubble and rock.
Conan made it to a turn. The stone surface cut into the frame of a small door like so many other tunnel holes that she had seen. She leaned against the side of the rough earth. It's getting hotter. I should be getting closer to wherever this is, Conan said to herself. She noticed that her gasps were getting heavier. She took a small breath to calm herself. Conan coughed. The air was getting tight. Conan didn't remember the air being this tight.
She didn't have time to think on it for very long before she heard footsteps. Conan stopped her breath. Had there been more people down here than just Yuri? If that was the case then Conan might as well save those people as well. Granted she didn't know the way out, but it would have been better if they were all together and could formulate a plan rather than just wandering around aimlessly. From the sounds it was only one person. Once they were in range, Conan halted. This chakra. She remembered this chakra. Conan never prayed, but hope against the fires of Hades did she pray right now. Anyone but him. Please let it be anyone but him. Conan prayed to every god she could think of. Just please don't let fate be that cruel. Conan watched as the figure came present. Their eyes glowed in the dark. In the light of the caves, Conan easily made out the red clouds and black cloak of the Akatsuki organization. On the person's shoulder had been the object of Conan's searchings.
Conan had found Uzumaki Yuri hunched over the back of her best and only living friend, Nagato. I have been looking for you, Conan, Nagato said as his eyes narrowed at her form. Conan wouldn't have minded passing out right now. Nagato, why are you here? Conan asked. She watched her friend shift his shoulder, which had Yuri's unconscious body shuffling slightly. Each time made Conan unconsciously clench her body. She couldn't really be thinking about this, could she? Never before had Conan been afraid of Nagato's eyes. Sure, sometimes his powers startled her, but never his eyes, and right now she feared them. She was truly afraid of those eyes. She didn't want to admit it to herself. This was Nagato, her best and only living friend. He wouldn't harm her. At least she didn't believe he would, but over many years Conan could tell that Nagato was fading away. His pride increased to where he called himself God. This plan of theirs to bring peace. Conan shivered. Yes, she remembered what was lying at the end of that piece of theirs. The vision that the Sambi had shown her. The destruction of all existence as the world knew it. Peace. There was going to be peace for no one if Nagato went with his plan. Conan never wanted to see that image again. Yes, now she understood. She understood why she feared Nagato. I can tell by the fact that the Sambi Jinchuriki is on my shoulder, that your mission to retrieve her did not go as planned. You had been gone for far too long, so I came to retrieve you. I know your chakra easily enough, so pinpointing you was fairly simple for me. I take it from your attire that you had been captured. By who or what, I do not care. I will be getting you out of here. We will return to Amagakura and unseal the Sambi from its Jinchuriki. I will have Kisame bury the body someplace where it won't be found, Pain said. Conan winced at those words. Well, in Conan's mind it was obvious. Nagato had no personal feelings for anyone, much less the Jinchuriki of all people, so he had no idea of what Yuri meant to Conan. Plus, there were other reasons. I believe in you, Conan-san. Please rescue Yuri for me, Naruto said with a thumbs up. Conan felt the edges of her mouth furl up into a smile. Kakashi offered an eye smile. If she's truly willing, then I think she should take her on her word, Kakashi said. Uzumaki Naruto, the one this whole thing revolved around, despite what she had done. Despite what she could probably still do. Despite who she was affiliated with. He trusted her to bring Yuri home. He trusted her without doubt. Conan inwardly hated it. What kind of shinobi trusted the enemy to return their ally? Conan also hated Naruto for making her doubt everything. No, perhaps it was that Naruto had given her Yahiko to show her the light and the true path. Yes, Conan understood why she feared Nagato now. She feared him because she was his enemy now. Don't mistake Conan. She would love for Nagato to meet with Yahiko, but she knew that Nagato would never buy it, and when he presumed her to be a threat, then she would be eliminated. Conan didn't want that, but to save Nagato from the monster he was becoming, she would have to leave him. See? Conan said softly. Pain nodded as he walked past Conan to go in the direction that she had just left in. You're not going to question me? Conan asked. Pain turned and gave her a look. Rest assured that I will be hearing about everything that transpired with you, but right now I want you back in Amagakure. No more dawdling. Come with me, he said. Conan watched with narrowed eyes as Nagato dragged Yuri's body with him. Conan frowned as she followed behind him away from the lava chamber where the body of Tokiwa had laid if she had continued onward. Conan turned and followed after Nagato. Conan and Pain were silent. Granted, even before she had the thoughts that she had right now, Nagato never really talked much to Conan. Sure, there was the occasional one, but nowhere near the same as she remembered. Only the sounds of their feet hitting the ground were heard. Conan looked up. Nagato, have you ever wondered what you would do if our plan fails? What if it takes a turn that you don't expect? Conan asked. Pain turned his eyes and glared at Conan. She looked back at him just as fiercely. Yes, she was afraid of him, but she was just more afraid of that future. I am God, Conan. This plan will not fail. I expect everything and nothing can surprise me. You have seen how humanity acts. Without our plan, then humanity will only lead itself towards its own destruction. You have doubts? He asked. Conan looked into the eyes of her friend. She still remembered all of the things that he was capable of doing. She had seen his powers many times in her life. Nagato, how does us killing this Uzumaki make us any better than the people who killed Yahiko or your parents? Conan asked. Nagato's eyes tightened. We swore to never talk about that, Conan. This is a means to an end. This girl should be thankful that she can give her life in the pursuit of peace. What we do is a necessary evil so that down the line many others won't have to endure the same strife. We exist for the good of the world, Nagato said. Conan frowned. It saddened her that she actually used to believe that, right now, Nagato just sounded like that regent who had everyone trapped in the caves in the first place. Right, I understand, Nagato. It's been so long since I have seen you that I felt my conviction waver. It will not happen again, Conan said. Pain nodded his head as the two appeared back in the area with the lake that Conan had just left previously. It was only about a 10-minute walk, and yet Conan felt that the walk had taken about 100 years. Pain surveyed the room. The earth that blocks this room is light. I can break it down and then we will make our exit, Nagato said. Conan merely nodded. She gave a calming breath. I don't have any of my equipment with me. It was most likely destroyed in the explosion that rocked the cavern, Conan said. Pain didn't give a sign of acknowledgement. He walked out to the edge of the lake in the caverns. He looked at the hole in the ceiling before looking at He only held out his hand to the wall. Conan remembered this feeling of chakra as suction of air slammed into the wall. Cracks lined the wall. The added pressure that seemed to be coursing from Pain only made Conan wait in silence before the wall effortlessly came apart. The water that had been trapped in the lake quickly flowed out. Pain looked at the stream. We will go out in, Pain didn't get a chance to speak as Conan kicked him forward. Gomen Nagato, but I can't let you destroy yourself nor the world with what you have planned, Conan said, as she swiftly grabbed Yuri from Pain's shoulder in one swift motion as Pain fell into the water. However, just before he had fallen into said water, he turned and glared back at Conan. His form descended into the water as Conan pulled up Yuri's body. Conan quickly dashed out of the opening with Yuri's body and into the raining weather outside. She found annoyance at her feet trudging on the hard earth, but she couldn't care about it. She had to quickly put as much distance between herself and Pain as much as possible. She doubted that this would slow him down even a little bit, if at all. I'll get you back to Naruto-san, Yuri-san, Conan said, as Yuri laid unconscious on Conan's shoulder. Conan looked left and right. A forest in the vast distance, and a long wall just next to the hole that Pain had just made. Conan didn't have time to think. She just had to do what she felt was right. Conan grunted as she grabbed one of the ledges of the wall near the hole. With all her available strength, she pulled herself and Yuri upward. She dug her feet into the earth. It pained her feet, but she kept moving. The fierce winds blew in her hair. The rain made her already dirty rags even more wet. Conan actually found a lot to complain about as she scaled the mountain. She was dead hungry. She was dead tired. She low to non-existent on chakra. She had no idea where she was, or where Naruto was. She couldn't call for help, and she just pissed off an S-rank former friend of hers who just so happened to be the leader of a terrorist organization. Or, that's what people called them. 10-10 fate. You bitch. 10-10. Conan kept climbing and climbing. She huffed as she grabbed another free ledge. She was probably halfway to the top before the earth shook underneath her feet. She quickly grabbed a hold of Yuri in surprise as rocks much larger than her form ever could be started falling. A large burst of water from below flew into the air, and Conan knew only one thing. Nagato was most likely pissed. Oh, he was angry for sure, but he was probably pissed right now. He had to be. God levels of pissed right now.
Conan sighed. She knew what she was getting herself into, and in her mind, this was all worth it. Conan just kept climbing as fast as she could. Luckily, Conan's chakra was so low that Pain couldn't pinpoint her, otherwise he would have run into her a lot sooner. So far he only had her general location. Conan would have liked for it to stay that way, but she knew it wouldn't take Nagato long to find her. She just kept going up. The storm and rainy weather wasn't exactly helping her endeavors at all, but she persevered onward. As she climbed, she took a glance back at Yuri. You Uzumaki truly are a strange bunch. I have yet to understand how such a clan could be wiped out, Conan said more to herself than to Yuri before she got back to her task at hand. Conan's efforts for the last 15 minutes finally paid off as she pulled herself and Yuri over top of the surface of the mountain. Conan looked at her hands and feet. She grimaced. What she wouldn't give for a soldier pill right now. Conan panted as she wiped her face. She looked up. The storm was fierce, but at least she was outside. However, she was out in the open. That was probably the worst thing that could have ever happened to her. If only I could reach the others. If only I could. Conan suddenly widened her eyes as she looked into the sky. She swallowed the lump in her throat. Based on Naruto's words, there was the spiritual side of chakra and he could feel it. If Conan could blast as much of her chakra as she could, then perhaps that would be enough spiritual energy for Naruto to sense, but could he fight Nagato? Conan wasn't sure, but Conan wanted to believe it. Just for once in her life, she wanted to trust in it.
The only problem was that Nagato was easily going to find her if she did. She would have no place to hide. Well, she already didn't, but this was not much better. Conan took a still breath. Conan gave a small breath before she placed her hands into the air. She could feel the tiny drops of rain over her body, and she could feel the wind beat at her face. She quickly pulsed her remaining chakra as far and as fast as she could. Please. If fate had any justice at all, then Naruto would get here along with some help. That was all Conan could hope for. Conan quickly picked up Yuri and continued running across the mountain surface. Conan could see many gaps and ledges to fall into, but she knew that it wouldn't matter. She couldn't hide forever from Nagato. That was like trying to hide your chakra points from a Hyuga. It was futile. There were so strategies that disables them temporarily, but not forever. Conan felt like a snake trying to hide from a hawk. Odd analogy, she knew, but she couldn't come up with anything else while running for her life.
Conan stopped and looked down a large crevice. She peered over to the other side. It was a fairly simple jump to make. Conan backed away a few steps before she ran forward. Just as Conan jumped over the crevice, she gave a curse of pain as a metal rod stabbed her in her left knee. Conan bashed into the earth on the other side of the crevice as she covered Yuri's body with her own. Both girls fumbled through the dirt and earth as Conan left a trail of blood from her knee. She growled as she felt the searing pain. Was this how so many of Nagato's enemies felt when they were stabbed with these? Conan could feel it. She could feel pain's chakra slowly creeping throughout her body. It effectively paralyzed her. And why wouldn't it? She really didn't have the chakra to fight it. She didn't even have enough time to react as another metal rod landed in her right knee. Conan gritted her teeth against the pain as her blood spilled over the rock. Conan's fingers flew over the metal rods. If she weren't herself, then she would have probably laughed at some of the irony of this situation. Not good. Her vision was getting hazy. Conan looked at her legs before glancing over to where Yuri's body was. The rain trickled down the Sanbi Jinchuriki's face. Conan grunted as she crawled along the ground until she could make it to Yuri. Conan panted as she took one more look at her legs. Even despite her vision being hazy, she could still make out pain as he landed in front of her. Strange, his eyes looked very angry, but Conan could also see a type of sadness and hurt within them. And why wouldn't they hear? They were the eyes of a person stung by betrayal. Conan stared defiantly into those eyes. Yes, betraying Nagato hurt her, but she would do it again if she could have. She would not apologize for this.
My only question is, why Conan? Pain asked lowly, angrily. Conan gazed into his eyes before frowning. I used to believe that we were doing this for the benefit of all humanity, Nagato. People would fear our weapon, then they would have to strive for peace. But living because of fear will never work. If I had not done this, then I would not have been able to look Yahiko in the face when I see him. If he could see what we have turned the Akatsuki into, he would lower his head in shame. You are no god, Nagato. You and I are just two grown people refusing to move on from what reality dealt us, Conan said. Pain narrowed his eyes as Conan looked down. Defying you was the last chance I saw for a world that truly did need peace. By keeping Uzumaki Yuri alive. I will not let you kill her, Conan said, while Pain looked over to the unconscious Jinchuriki. So, Madara was right. You were indeed compromised during your capture. Everything I have done has been for the sake of the world, Conan. I don't know what has been spoken to you in your ears, but if you are willing to go against God, I do this so no one else end up the way we have done, Pain said. Conan's glare hardened. You go through with this plan, then everyone will become like us. No, Nagato. You go through with this plan and there won't even be a world for there to be pain in. Conan firmly. She shivered as Pain's chakra pushed through her body, effectively paralyzing it. She couldn't speak. She watched him hold out his hand. Conan gasped as she was quickly pulled into his grasp by her throat. She was forced to look into his eyes. You know something. Tell me, Pain said. Now that was the crust of the situation. Conan frowned. We both know what I tell you. Won't change your mind, Gato. One thing you should know is that the instant you rip Uzumaki, Yuri's bijou, from her body, Uzumaki, Naruto will make you suffer, Nagato. You believe yourself to be a god. Well, even you know there is a reason why people fear the god known as death, Conan said. Pain had enough of this. He dropped Conan to the ground and heard her anguish from the rods in her legs. I am going to know what you know, Conan. Though you are a traitor, you were still one of my best friends. I will not allow you to suffer. It is a shame you will not see the peace in the world that I will give it. As for Uzumaki Naruto, I will make sure to deal with him in time. Pain said as Conan tiredly looked up to see a flare of Nagato's chakra over his hand. As I have said, I won't make you suffer. I will get your information and then your body. I will bury you someplace respectable. You deserve less than that, but I'm being generous, Nagato said. Conan knew what he was going to do. It scared her, but she slowly closed her eyes. She didn't have any regrets. She knew what was lying at the end of Nagato's path. She would be waiting of him on the other side. His hand neared her forehead. Conan wasn't in a position to refuse.
I apologize, Uzumaki Naruto. I have failed after all. I can only hope that you will get Uzumaki Yuri before it is too late. I leave Nagato and the rest of the world to you, Conan thought as Nagato's hand rested on top of her blue hair. His touch was cold just as she had suspected.
Well, if that's how you feel, then I'll make sure you see the rest of the world that I will protect that Bayo. Conan shot open her eyes and looked up to see a hand of white fire on Pain's arm, which kept Conan's soul attached to her body. No more people are going to die on my watch, Naruto growled as Pain glared at Naruto. The Kyuubi Jinchuriki. How did I not sense him? Pain thought to himself before he noticed that his shadow was caught. Far off he noticed Shikamaru grin to himself. Kaigamani success, Shikamaru said. Pain looked at the Nara before he glanced back to the unconscious Sanbi Jinchuriki. She was gone. He looked to his left and noticed Yura holding Yuri in her arms. Ibiki and Iruka were their guards. Behind him, he noticed Kushina, Sasuke, Shi, and Fujikaze. He noticed himself surrounded by Konoha shinobi. Shikamaru, can you get him to let go? Naruto asked, his eyes never leaving Pain. The Kyuubi Jinchuriki stared at the leader of Akatsuki. Pain looked down at his captured hand. He noticed the white fire that surrounded Naruto's hand. He had never seen such a flame before. Could this have been what Conan was talking about? Right now, all he knew was this somehow, some way. Uzumaki Naruto was canceling out Nagato's technique with these flames of his. Shikamaru smirked. You always been this bossy, Naruto? Shikamaru asked before he quickly moved his shadow. Pain watched the shadow form around his arm before it began to pull him away. So this is the person Conan betrayed me for, Uzumaki. Naruto, I will make sure to teach you the power of God, Pain said as his head left Conan's forehead, her soul intact. Conan panted as she dropped to the ground. You are no god. I'm sure Shin would take interesting in showing you the difference between us and them. Right now, you are just a pain in the ass. Naruto shouted as he slammed his fist into Pain's chest. Nagato, from where he laid, winced. The white flames exploded over Pain, and dare Nagato say he felt like his soul was actually burning from the inside out. He clutched his chest and coughed as blood poured from his mouth. With a loud roar, Naruto sent the body of Pain crashing through the mountain crevices and into the side of a mountain wall. At his place, Shikamaru released a sigh. Good thing he released the Kagame before Naruto's little attack, or he would have been feeling the hurt as well. He really wished Naruto would have told him about that at some point. Conan watched in surprise as Naruto turned to her. How did you find me? Conan asked. Naruto blinked. How did I find you? Well, you called to me, didn't you? I never heard a soul call to me so loud, Naruto said with a grin. Conan blinked in surprise. Her tactic had actually worked? Arigato, she said. Naruto scratched his nose before he turned around. I believed in Yuri-chan when she said you weren't a bad person. It looks like she and I were right to trust you. Now then, let me nip this guy in the bud right now, Naruto said with a small smirk. But Conan didn't feel it that way. Can you send Yahiko out now? Nagato is right here. If he sees him... Conan stopped when Naruto shook his head. When Yahiko and this guy meet, they will do it face to face. Without that body in the way, Naruto said. Conan was stunned. How did Naruto know? How could he have possibly known that this wasn't the real Nagato? Naruto couldn't have seen him before. It was impossible. Yuri-chan, get Yuri out of here and back to the crystal tent. Have Amaru-san and Shino-san look her over, "Sasuke-san, take Conan-san!" Naruto called out. Without a moment's notice, Sasuke appeared next to Conan and scooped her into the Uchiha's arms. "Wait, Naruto-san. Everyone's bodies, even yours, are too tired to fight him. Can you port us out?" Conan asked. Naruto turned and gave Conan a small smile. "Not yet. I've used that a little too much today. We're going to have to wait a little bit. Don't you worry about it." "I'll handle this," Naruto said with a firm nod. Conan barely had the chance to say anything before Sasuke jumped away with her. Naruto's form got smaller and smaller for Conan as Sasuke rushed away. "Be careful, Nari-san," Yura said before she dashed off with Erika and Hibiki right behind her. She rushed as fast as she could to get Yuri to the medics. She and Fujikai's quickly ran after them. Naruto, Kushina, and Shikamaru stayed in the mountains. "How long is that going to keep him down?" Shikamaru asked. Naruto snarled. As he got his sword ready, Kushina placed her own hand on her sword. "Not long enough, Datebane," Kushina answered for her son. The three watched as Pain emerged from the debris. He wiped off his coat with his hand. Naruto frowned, and so did Kushina. Shikamaru released a small breath. Facing an S-rank Akatsuki member, the leader to be exact. That wasn't what Shikamaru defined as a good time. "Ka-chan, how much do you have left in you?" Naruto asked. Kushina glanced to her son. Truth be told, Kushina didn't have a lot. Combined with that fact that they were trapped in that cave for about a week, along with the fact of her and her son being held by that machine which drained even more of their spiritual energy, plus her using that Death Sage mode for the first time, she was really running on a full tank of empty. Naruto was in pretty much the same boat, plus the damage that he had taken from the kindred hadn't completely healed just yet. Naruto really had nothing left either. "Got a plan, Shikamaru?" "We could really use your head here," Naruto said, and Shikamaru grumbled to himself. What did Naruto think he was trying to do? Of course he was trying to make up a plan. "I don't know. We're facing an unknown. I've never even seen his abilities." "I don't know what he does," Shikamaru said as Pain came closer to the trio. Naruto growled as Pain walked up to them. "I will offer you one chance. Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Surrender yourself in the pursuit of peace for the world," Pain said. Naruto frowned and he took a step forward. "Peace? I don't think your peace is the type of peace anyone wants. If Iro Sennin could see you right now, he'd be disappointed in you. You went after Yuri. I'm going to make you regret it," Naruto called as he sucked in his legs. Before Kushina or Shikamaru could speak, Naruto charged at Pain. Pain quickly formed a black rod from his hands. Naruto shouted as his sword slammed against the rock. The earth cracked beneath Naruto and Pain's feet. A wave of energy exploded from them both. "That idiot, going in by himself," Shikamaru said, and Kushina quickly followed after her son. She took her sword from its sheath and charged forward. Naruto could see her coming, but he turned his eyes back to Pain. "You followed Iro Sennin's teachings? How the hell did you come to this conclusion from what he taught us? Your peace will only disturb the physical and spiritual world." "I'm not going to let you have your way," Naruto growled out while Pain frowned. A mortal cannot see the ocean just from going as far as his legs have taken him. It takes commitment, which I wouldn't expect you to understand. Jiraiya Sensei believe in peace returning by ordinary means is a foolish ideal. Only peace made by a god's efforts will be whole and full, Pain said before he swerved and kicked Naruto away. Naruto backflipped through the air. Truth be told, Pain didn't want to fight Naruto right now. He didn't have his paths with him. He could summon them, but that would take a little bit of time. He didn't want them all over here. He was facing the Kyuubi Jinchuriki and the Red Death. Even the Red Death's exploits with a sword had reached his ears. But without them, he was at a clear disadvantage. He turned and noticed Kushina swing her sword for his torso. Pain quickly jumped away from her strike, but Kushina didn't relent. She swung left and right as Pain blocked each strike with his black rod. I see your exploits don't do you justice, Red Death. You are much more capable than I had assumed, Pain said. Kushina clashed her sword with his rod. If we weren't enemies, I would have properly thanked you for the compliment, Kushina remarked. She noticed Pain suddenly hold up his free hand. Feel the wrath of God. Shinra Tensei, heavenly subjugation of the omnipresent God, Pain called out. Kushina coughed as her body was sent flying back, an invisible force of pure pressure. "Ha!" Naruto called as Kushina slid across the ground. She grunted as she did so. Kushina coughed as blood fell from her mouth. She struggled to find herself. "What was that?" Kushina asked in pain. Shikamaru glared back at Pain, while the Diva Path glanced between the three. "This is the power of God. Know your place, and cease this futile resistance," Pain said. Naruto growled before he held out his sword. A flash of thunder came through the sky as Naruto roared. "Uzu no Fukash, Dai Uzumaki Ikari," Naruto hollered as he swung his sword. 5 water blasts exited from his blade. Powered by the elements of the storm, the blasts grew bigger. Pain saw them coming. He held up his hand into the air. Naruto widened his eyes as the water missiles exploded in a sea of water before dropping harmlessly to the ground. Whatever had hit his mother had also hit his technique. "All will bow before God," Pain said. Naruto grabbed his sword before he charged at Nagato. The Akatsuki leader turned to Naruto. Naruto swung his blade, but Pain jumped over it. Naruto formed a downward slash, but Pain effortlessly jumped out of the way. As soon as Pain's feet touched the ground, he was forced to move once again when he saw a kunai with an explosive tag. His eyes locked in on Shikamaru before the Diva Path jumped away once again. The explosion rocked the earth as Naruto covered his face from the debris. Pain landed on the surface of a taller mountain cliff. He looked down at the 3 shinobi. He watched Kushina get to her feet. Naruto and Shikamaru looked at him with hatred. He stared back at them. He quickly slapped his hands together. No matter what form it takes, peace is still peace, and whether by force or by acceptance, it will be realized. A world where a child has the chance to die just moments before it is born is not a world to live in. By pain, all understand each other, and this world will know pain. The Diva Path said as Naruto, Kushina and Shikamaru looked around as multiple stones and boulders were pulled from the ground. "Oi, oi, that doesn't look good," Shikamaru said as Kushina and Naruto stood in front of him. Naruto could understand some of Pain's words. By the pain he shared with Gaara, they were able to become friends. By the pain he knew of being alone, he could sympathize with others who felt the same. He had formed countless bonds due to his experiences with past pain, but peace that came from pain would never be a true peace. And what will you do when the whole world turns against you? What if they reject your method of peace? Are you going to kill everyone who doesn't agree with you? You are no god to anyone. You are just a murderer with a fucked up ideal. Naruto hollered back. Pain narrowed his eyes. "Shinra Tensei," he shouted, and the force that had knocked Kushina away was the same force that propelled the large stones and boulders at their group. Naruto, Shikamaru, and Kushina jumped away. Naruto rolled to the side, dodging a boulder as the stone crashed into the earth. Naruto performed a backflip soon after to dodge another shot. Kushina dodged left before she slashed a stone with her sword. She jumped on the side of a wall before running across its length sideways. Shikamaru hopped and skipped away from the attacks as best he could. Pain turned his gaze towards Shikamaru. "You will be the first to know pain," the Diva Path said as he held his hand towards Shikamaru. "Bansho Tenin, heavenly attraction of all creation," he said. Suddenly, Shikamaru grunted as Kushina and Naruto watched the Nara fly towards the direction that Pain was in. Naruto gave a silent curse. "How much do I have left?" Naruto asked. Kurama opened one of his eyes and frowned. "A Rinnegan user, just like the old man. Be careful around this one, Naruto. You aren't using my chakra just yet, but you have enough to perform the Kukenugami. After that, I believe you will need my assistance," Kurama said. Naruto gave a grin before he turned back to see Pain with the same metal rod in his hands. Shikamaru gasped as he was pulled. Naruto quickly slammed his right hand on the ground. "Kukanyugami no Jutsu," Naruto called out as time swiftly halted. Shikamaru stopped just a couple of feet from Pain's grasp. Naruto sucked in his legs and blasted forward. He quickly grabbed Shikamaru while simultaneously slamming his foot into the Diva Path's face. Naruto dropped to the ground soon after and placed Shikamaru on safe ground. Naruto winced as his right arm twitched. He groaned as the seal of the shinigami ignited. The pain was searing, but Naruto persevered through it. In a moment, it calmed down as time flowed once again. Shikamaru gasped as he found himself on safe ground, while pain touched his face. Blood was on it. How had he been attacked? He didn't remember either the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, nor the Red Death making a move against him. Both were in his sights. He turned and noticed Naruto glaring at him. The Diva Path wiped its face and glared back at Naruto. "I don't know how you managed that attack, but it won't happen again," Pain said, and he turned just in time to see Kushina over his head. She swung her blade for his neck, but he blocked it with his rod. "It seems that you are too slow." "Shinra Tensei!" Pain shouted, and Naruto heard his mother scream as she was propelled away. Naruto gasped as Kushina crashed into a wall. The air escaped her lungs as she slid to the ground. She winced as she tried to pick herself up, but to no avail. "That hurt a little more than I thought, dat bang," Kushina said with a chuckle. Naruto growled as he quickly made to move, but Shikamaru stopped him. "Wait, Naruto. We've been fighting for a couple of minutes and I noticed something. I just need you to attack him 3 times. Attack him now and then. Attack him immediately after. Force him to use his push away power, and then once you have a clear shot, attack him again, but this time you have to do it within 3 seconds with a hard attack if you have one," Shikamaru said. Naruto glanced at Shikamaru. He didn't know what the Nara had planned, but Naruto had always known that Shikamaru was smart. Naruto wasn't about to doubt that now. "You have an idea?" Naruto asked. Shikamaru only gave him a nod. Naruto glanced between Shikamaru and Pain before he nodded. Shikamaru watched in surprise as 3 white tails exploded from Naruto's backside. Slowly, the Anshao from the Kyuubi filled his body and wrapped him in a cloak. Naruto's pupils quickly narrowed to slits and his whiskers darkened. Shikamaru gasped as the Anshao from the Kyuubi exploded from Naruto's body. "I'll try to make it fast," Naruto said before he dashed off in Pain's direction. Shikamaru looked at the massive imprint on the ground before he noticed Naruto rush off to Pain. Pain turned just in time to see a white-cloaked Naruto rear his fist back. 4 seconds. Pain frowned as he held up his metal rod in defense. Naruto's fist blasted past the rod, breaking it in half. His fist then proceeded to slam into the Diva Path's face. The path went flying as it skipped across the ground. Kushina watched in slight awe as Naruto charged his cloak once again. He grabbed his sword. Kushina watched as the 4th seal lit up on her son's blade. Uzu no Fukush, Tenchi, Miss Yun, Whirlpool. Revenge. Divine retribution. Forsaken order! Naruto growled as he blasted forward, destroying the platform that he stood on. Pain looked up just in time to see Naruto coming for him. His blade shined as the thunder clasped in the sky. Naruto roared as he swung his blade, causing a white wave of Hanshao to release from his sword and rip through the earth towards Pain. The Diva Path watched the incoming attack. Made it in time, he quickly held up his hand. "Shinra Tensei!" Pain shouted as he held up his hand. Naruto, Shikamaru, and Kushina watched as the technique was blasted away without a second thought. However, Shikamaru didn't appear to be concerned as he watched Naruto bit his thumb and trace his seal. "Kuchiyoshi no Jutsu," Naruto called out. Naruto gave a grin as the kindred appeared in the air. "Need us already, brat?" Wolf asked as Naruto gave a small smirk of his own. "You're damn right I need you, furry. Hit him hard, dad bayo," Naruto called out. Lamb and Wolf glared over to Pain. He looked at them in surprise as Lamb tightened her hold on her bow. Takinya no Mai, deadly arrows dance, Kindred called out as Lamb fired a total of 5 bright arrows at Pain's location. Each arrow seemed to get bigger and bigger as they zeroed in on Pain's location. Pain watched each incoming arrow as Shikamaru smirked to himself. As I thought, he would have had the most unbreakable defense I would have seen since the Hyuga's chitin if he could keep up that power of his up indefinitely. By the amount of chakra he puts into the technique, then he has to let it charge. It looks like the blow he dealt to Kushina-san was about the same as all of the other ones. So he needs less than 7 seconds to be able to be hit. Even the power where he pulled me must be the same. We have his weakness, Shikamaru thought to himself as the arrows closed in on Pain. The explosion that followed rocked the mountain as Naruto and the Kindred landed on the ground. The white energy from the arrows diminished for just a second before it exploded once again. As the wind picked up, the explosion slowly died down as Shikamaru stood to his feet to survey the damage. Kushina found it hard to move, but she tried to look from where she was. After some time, the dust and light faded. Naruto and the Kindred were surprised to find that Pain wasn't at the center of the explosion. What? Where did he? Naruto shivered when he heard a loud, piercing scream. He turned around and noticed a metal rod punctured through Shikamaru's left leg. Shikamaru dropped to the ground as Naruto widened his eyes. Kushina gasped as Shikamaru clutched his leg. I have no doubt the only reason that you were able to perform those sequence of events was because of the Nara. You planned a very well-coordinated assault on me, but you are nothing before God. Naruto and the Kindred turned to see Pain standing on an opposing cliff. His Akatsuki cloak had been torn in a couple of places. Wolf growled as Lamb readied another 4-diva path, held up its hand. I tire of having things thrown at me. Shinra Tensei, he called out. Naruto and the Kindred were blasted away. Lamb and Wolf grunted in pain as they slammed into the ground, while Naruto was sent into the dirt, a ways off. Naruto groaned as he turned his head. He noticed his sword a couple of feet from his person. Naruto reached for his blade and coughed into the dirt. Naruto resisted the urge to scream in pain as his legs were stabbed with rods. 2 rods were then stabbed into his arms. Naruto cursed as he was pinned to the ground. Your fault was challenging me while you were weak from your previous endeavors. I could see how the rest of you formed. You were all exhausted from dealing with everything from before. Have you begun to calm yourself? Pain asked as he looked into Naruto's eyes. Naruto frowned. Don't think for a second that you've beaten me. Naruto cursed back as Pain nodded. I have dominated you currently, but I have no interest in your right now. You will come in time. As of right now, I require the Sanbi, Jinchuriki, and Konan. You will tell me. What would make Konan betray me? What lies have you told her? Pain asked. Naruto snorted as he smirked. Konan-san believed in me and Yuri. That's all. Obviously we're doing something better than you are if she can place more trust in us than in her own presumed friend. Not that you would understand anything about friendship. Using Yahiko's body like a toy or a puppet? Forcing his body to do this stupid shit that you call God's work. You know nothing about true divinity, Teimei, Naruto growled out. Pain's glare hardened as he grabbed Naruto's head and slammed it into the ground. How do you know about Yahiko? Did Konan tell you? The Diva Path asked as Naruto's only response was to give Pain a smirk. If Nagato could ever truly feel annoyed, then right now is that time. He merely released his grip on Naruto's hair and stood up. Well, that's fine. I will be sure to get my answers, Pain said as he took out another metal rod. He held it over Naruto's spinal cord. You just have to be alive. I don't mind you being crippled for the remainder of your life. In the end, Uzumaki Naruto, in order to have peace you also need strength, and for a mere shinobi like yourself, you will never have the power of a god, Pain said as Naruto snarled. Pain glared down on Naruto as Naruto stared up at Pain. Thunder boomed in the sky, and lightning flashed as Naruto widened his eyes. Uzu no Fukash. Reimei no Kyoto. Pain turned around and noticed Kushina with her sword full of Raiten chakra. Kushina roared as hard as he could before Pain jumped out of the way. Kushina slammed her sword into the ground, creating a large explosion of lightning. Naruto widened his eyes as Kushina turned and glared at Pain. "Kan!" Naruto called as Kushina gave a hard hug. Naruto could see his mother's beaten-up form, and from the way that she twitched her leg, he could tell that it was slightly dislocated. Kushina held her sword to Pain. "You will not take away my son. I will never let anyone take away my son from me ever again," Kushina said with a small frown. Pain narrowed his eyes as Kushina chuckled. A slip of blood escaped her mouth. "With my peace, there will be no more mothers losing their sons, or sons losing their mothers. You son's death would be the key to ending all of this strife that plagues the world. To make peace is to have sacrifice, and the one is not more important than the many. The world must be thought of. Anyone who thinks otherwise is selfish," Pain said, as Kushina raised her sword into the air. "Then call me selfish Datbane," Kushina shouted as she swung her blade at Pain. He danced out of the way of her strikes as Kushina swung at him each and every time. "You have never had a son. What have you sacrificed? What have you given up? What have you ever had taken away from you in your life that you would dare take away other people's happiness?" "My happiness!" Kushina shouted as she swirled her body. Her momentum shifted as Pain ducked underneath her blade. But from her momentum, he saw her fist slam into his face, barreling him down Earth. Pain got up and wiped his cheek off. "You will give everyone peace. You will make everyone happy. There is no happiness in my life without my son," Kushina shouted as she charged forward. Naruto was stunned to silence as he watched his mother's hair slowly turn silver. Her eyes lost their violet color and were quickly replaced by a silver look. Pain's eyes grew a tad bigger in surprise as Kushina swung her sword. Her blade ignited in white fire as she swung at the Diva Path. The Diva Path twitched as it backed away.
Honsho, Sodayaki power of life. Magnificent radiance, Kushina shouted as she swung her blade, releasing a pent-up wall of flame that charged for Nagato's location. The Diva Path watched before he closed his eyes. "If this is the strength of your resolve, then I am disappointed," he said as he held his hand up. Naruto gasped as Pain spoke. "Shinra Tensei," the path uttered, blasting the wall of flame back at Kushina before sending her flying. Naruto watched as Kushina slammed into the ground next him. She coughed as blood escaped her mouth. Kushina groaned while Naruto turned back to Pain. "That look in your eyes. You hate me, I can tell. A natural look in one's eyes," he said. Naruto trembled as he held his head down.
"Yajimi, arrow rain." Pain turned around and jumped back from the hail of arrows that threatened to pierce him down. He turned and noticed the kindred, a little beaten up, as they landed next to him. "You guys are okay?" Naruto asked. Lamb nodded while Wolf snarled. "Would take more than that to kill us, brat. Now get your ass off the ground and fight," Wolf snarled. Pain frowned at the untimely intervention, but he couldn't pay attention to them for long before he jumped into the air away from 3 kunai. He glanced and noticed Shikamaru with a pained expression on his face. Naruto was stunned into silence. He flinched when he felt a hand on his arm. He noticed his mother looking at him with a wide smile, though her eyes were hazy. "Sochi," Kushina said hoarsely. "Ka-chan, don't talk. I'll get us out of this." "I promise." Naruto didn't get to finish as Kushina opened her mouth. "I do," Naruto just barely heard. His eyes widened and his ears made every attempt to hear her words. "Why you? You do what, Kaya-chan?" Naruto asked. Kushina inwardly chuckled. A dense sun to the end. She looked into his eyes. She slowly reached out her hand and touched her son's.
"Let's do what we want, Sochi. Do you remember those words? You proposed to me a week ago." "I do," Kushina said before she slipped away into unconsciousness. Naruto widened his eyes, as did the Kyuubi. Naruto was silent. His mother accepted. She accepted to marry her son. Naruto closed his eyes and tightened his fists. Naruto sucked in his breath and growled as he pushed up his body. "Oi Naruto, what do you think you're doing? Even if I can regenerate your wounds, that doesn't mean that you should. Kyuubi stopped as he suddenly felt a feeling. Kyuubi realized that his white fur started to glow bright. He looked back and noticed a brief surge of spiritual energy.
Ka-san, agreed Kyuubi. Ka-san is going to become my wife, Datbaya. All that we have been through. I realize now that it was all for Yuri's sake, Naruto said as he pushed his body further upward. The kindred glanced back at Naruto. Pain followed their vision. Pain widened his eyes, and so did the kindred as Naruto's hair flowed in the breeze. Pain and Shikamaru most likely couldn't see it, but the kindred could see it. The spiritual energy wrapping around Naruto's body as the metal rods slowly sunk deeper through his body. As Naruto pushed himself up, his legs were burning and his arms were aching, but Naruto was happy. He looked at the ground and smiled.
My death will lead to peace, Tem. Don't get ahead of yourself, Naruto said. He pulled his arms out from the rods. I am Uzumaki Naruto. I am the summoner of the Shinigami. I am not going to die to someone with as weak a resolve as you, Naruto said as he freed his punctured legs. His blood dripped on the ground for a second as he staggered to his feet. Shikamaru was silent. His mind had gone blank as Naruto looked up into the sky. What makes up the people? Destroy the few to save the many. Kill 1,000 to save a million. Well, what happens when I have killed 1,000 people 1,000 times? Naruto asked. Pain narrowed his eyes as Naruto's hair gained a silver color, but that wasn't all the kindred could see. They could see the seal on Naruto's hand expand. It covered his right arm and trailed to his neckline. One person meets another. That person meets another, and so on and so on. To start a world, there only needs to be one. To deny one person their happiness, is to burn away anyone else's happiness. I'm no idiot. I know that it is impossible to save everyone, Naruto said as he was covered in a bright light. Pain, Shikamaru, and the kindred were forced to cover their eyes as the light pierced the darkness of the gray sky. The lightning flashed over the mountain and the thunder roared in the heavens.
However, despite that, I will still find a way to make it work. Why? Because I am the line between life and death. Naruto roared as he sucked in his legs. The kindred gasped as a streak of spiritual energy blasted past their turned, and noticed Naruto already in front of the Diva path. Naruto reared his arm back and charged it full of his remaining Hanshou. Pain uncovered one of his eyes and opened his palm forward. This transformation was unexpected, but it was easily within his area of comfort. Shinra Tensei, Pain uttered as Naruto blasted his arm forward. The kindred and Shikamaru fell to the ground as a blast of white fire collided with the invisible pressure of the impact of the Diva Path's technique. If you have immense pressure behind your attack, I just need to have more pressure behind mine to beat you, Naruto growled as Pain widened his eyes. He had never been so close to the white fire in his life. The air exploded around the two of them as the earth shook at their feet. The surface they stood on started to crack away. The kindred looked up in surprise. It felt like so much pressure that not even they could stand. Shikamaru crawled to his place and looked at the sight. Had Shikamaru heard that right? Summoner, to the god of death. That had to be joke right. No way could his troublesome teammate actually be the summoner of the... Shikamaru wasn't able to complete his thought as a blast of wind hit him in the face. He was forced to cover his eyes from the resistance of the wind pressure that blew at his face. You make peace for the world. Don't be ridiculous. You can't even make peace with yourself, Naruto shouted as the wall of white flame got even bigger. Naruto channeled the power of his Hanshou into his legs, which propelled him forward. Pain could feel his legs shift backward. This wasn't possible. A technique that could withstand the Shinra Tensei? Pain held up the technique as best he could before Naruto cocked his second fist back. He gave another shout as his right hand blasted against the pressure of the Diva Path's technique. Pain gasped as Naruto's fist bashed into his face, sending him flying far off. Nagato coughed as blood dropped from his mouth. He touched the side of his face. It was swollen. He had been hit through his Diva Path. How was that possible? Uzumaki! Naruto! Nagato growled out as the Diva Path sailed through the air. The soul is easily connected no matter the bodies that change. So long as I hit your soul in this body, you will feel all of it, Naruto said as he vanished away in a white flash. The kindred watched the area he was just standing on explode in a force of spiritual energy. This power, where is he drawing this energy from? Wolf asked. Lamb couldn't even begin to explain. Both and Shikamaru watched as Naruto reappeared behind Pain. Pain turned and made an attempt to stab Naruto with another rod that he had created. Naruto moved his head out of the way from the strike before he grabbed the rod himself. A shinobi, Naruto said as he spun his body and in one swift motion, firmly planted his foot into Pain's chest area. The spiritual force of Naruto's Hanshao blasted Pain back to the ground below. The action completed, Naruto vanished in a burst of speed once again. He quickly reappeared on the ground. Is one who endures all the pain that comes their way. Naruto cried as Pain came aiming for him. Naruto punched the diva path as the fire exploded over the path's face. Naruto rocketed Pain across the mountain. Pain crashed, bashed, hopped and skipped across the ground like a rag doll. He glared hard at Naruto before he backflipped through the air. Pain landed on the ground and looked up, but he was shocked to find Naruto gone. He turned his head and noticed a sea of silver hair. Silver-slitted eyes locked with his own, as Naruto appeared behind him. So fast. When did he become this fast? Pain thought before Naruto ran around him. His speed quickly picked up dirt and dust. It wasn't long before the materials were set aflame by his spiritual energy. Pain quickly held his hand up. Shinra! Tensei! He shouted, blasting Naruto away from his person. Naruto flew into the air as Pain fell to the ground. This was starting to become troublesome. A shinobi is one who endures. What have you ever endured that could be worse than anyone else? Do you think yourself special? A world like this where anyone feels they need to endure is pointless, Pain said. Is that what you truly believe? A voice asked behind him. Pain turned and noticed Naruto glaring at him. Impossible! Pain looked back and noticed Naruto was no longer sailing through the air. Naruto kicked Pain with enough force to shatter the rocks at their feet before launching him into the air. No one could even speak as Naruto suddenly appeared behind Pain once again. As they traveled through the air, the wind echoed in their ears. It is by trials that people are hardened. It is by enduring that we learn what we have. It is by losing that we learn what we want to protect. It is by suffering that we learn that all life must be lived to the best of its ability. It's by dreaming today that we can strive for tomorrow. The world does not need your peace, Naruto shouted as he grabbed Pain's arm. Everyone watched as Naruto swung ferociously in the air. The white fire was quickly ignited by the wind pressure Naruto had provided. A swirling flame was the vision for the kindred and Shikamaru. They could hear Naruto cry out as he launched Pain downward, slamming him into the ground with a mighty explosion. The kindred squinted their eyes while Shikamaru covered his face. Was Naruto always this strong? Shikamaru thought. Naruto fell to the ground next to Lamb and Wolf. Both felt so much pressure that they couldn't even speak. They only watched Naruto pick up his sword. He turned back to the crater he left the leader of Akatsuki in. It wasn't long for Pain to re-emerge. His cloak was in tatters, but he paid it no mind. Honestly, Pain was not expecting this at all. He didn't have his other paths with him, and with this diva path he couldn't summon them either. This was the only one he had to rely on. Obviously, he had underestimated the QB Jinchuriki a tad. No, he was Pain, given human form. He was a god. No god had ever lost to a mortal. If he lost, then the entirety of his goal would have been pointless. Pain would teach Uzumaki Naruto the true meaning of the power of a god. I see. So you all wish to know Pain? Very well. I will make sure that everyone here understands that no one can challenge a god. I will end this now, Pain said as he slammed his hands together. Naruto frowned. Everyone could feel a large amount of chakra explode from the diva path as it roared. Chibaku Tensei, heavenly body bursting from the earth. He cried out. Shikamaru, the kindred, and Naruto watched as Pain, released a black sphere into the air. "You will all know pain," he said to them. Naruto glanced to Shikamaru. The Nara was sweating. He glanced back to the kindred. They both seemed to be prepared for the worst. Naruto then turned back to his mother. She seemed to be unconscious right now. Naruto growled as he looked up with a hard, stern face. "Lamb, wolf, I am going to give you guys half of the spiritual energy in my body right now," Naruto said. Both the kindred looked at him in surprise before they looked at each other. Naruto just continued to stare at the black orb in the sky. XL. "But why? Why aren't we going back to help them? We have to provide support," Iruka said as Guren, Yura, Ibiki, Sasuke, Shi, Fujikaze, and Karen waited underneath Guren's crystal tent from the rain. Many of the others had gone to the medical side of the crystal field, where Shino and Amaru were hard at work helping some of the others at the medical area. Because as it stands, Naruto only wanted Shikamaru and Kushina to be with him. This is the leader of Akatsuki. He's bound to have some power, and having all of us swarm him won't make much of a difference. Perhaps Naruto and Kushina can fight better without us interfering. They would need the Nara, because I bet Naruto thinks Shikamaru can assist him with that mind of his. "We will wait," Jiren said. Iruka balled his fists, but said nothing. "We're leaving Naruto against an S-rank shinobi, the leader of the Akatsuki no less. How confident can he be?" Iruka asked. Guren smiled while Yura gave a small smile. "I agree with you, Iruka-san. Even right now, knowing that Yuri is safe, I want nothing more than to go back and help Nani-san. But I know that if I do, he would be disappointed in me," Yura said. Everyone turned to her. "Nioi-san values our trust in him, and I, for one, believe that he will come back to us. Iruka-san, from the time I have known him, Nai-san has always been doing amazing things even by my imagination. We have to believe in him because that is the man I have chosen," Yura said with a small grin. Everyone was brought to a small silence.
HN, we should just leave him to die. Along with that queen of his. Sasuke frowned as he leaned up off the crystal glass. He turned to the direction of the noise and noticed a man along with a rather large group of people. "Would you like to repeat that?" Sasuke asked with a dangerous tone in his voice. The others of the group quickly noticed the crowd of people jeering as the man spoke up. "You think we all didn't notice? You all were down there as well. How could you ever trust that sack of filth that those assholes proclaimed their king and queen? I bet he was the leader of the whole thing. He's just sucking up to us now to make us forget what happened down there. You would all agree with us that if he shows his face here, then we're going to make sure he suffers," the man said. Guren, Yura, and Shi narrowed their eyes as Sasuke took a step forward. He then pointed his sword at the man's throat, causing the crowd to go silent.
"You talk a lot of trash for one of the thousands who was begging for his life to be saved back in that cave? Or did you forget just who was one of the most influential people in taking it down? I'll bet that little detail just so happened to escape your pathetic minds," Sasuke said. The man flinched at the cold steel and the harsh glare of Sasuke's eyes. As far as Sasuke understood it, no one was going to insult Naruto. It was a right reserved for him alone. Anyone else would suffer great things. "So you're on his side?" "Nothing I would expect from those freaks who use that damn white power, or whatever the fuck it's called. I hope that when you all die, you never find peace or rest. Have you any idea of what we endured down there? Parents had to watch children die. Husbands and wives were ripped apart from each other. I had to watch as my son toiled in the mud day in and day out before he died. And you know what they did? They threw him into the mud and told us to get back to work. I couldn't even properly mourn my own son, let alone bury him. Some of our closest friends were never to be seen again. It's all his fault. He gave them that damn power. He should suffer and burn in that cave just like the rest of them." The man shouted, and the people quickly agreed. Sasuke looked at them all and frowned.
Yura's hair fell over her eyes. "You have some damn nerve. It wasn't his fault. He was captured just like the rest of you," Karen argued back in her cousin's defense. They weren't buddy-buddy cousins, but even Karen could feel happy in having a family member. Oh yeah, I'm sure he was captured like the rest of us, just like on that video feed of the room he was in. That big bed, those plates of food, and the two of them sleeping there soundly. I'm sure they were enduring what we all were. The man cried back. Karen snarled.
She could understand. Despite the people's happiness in escaping, the terror of being down in those caves could not be so easily forgotten. And he had seen these type of people before. It was the same type of people who had been against Yugito and Karabi when they both had their Biju. Everyone lost so much and the object of their frustration was so close yet so far. So they took it out on the next best thing. It was a subtly advanced mob mentality. Of course, that didn't mean she would just take it lying down. You would believe the words of your captors so readily without even coming to your own conclusions. I know that bad things have happened to you, but you have no way of knowing if Naruto-san and Kushina-san were a part of this little plan you think they had. She responded back. Don't you dare twist this back on us. We know what you're doing. Well, we won't stand for this. We won't stand for you. We're going to make sure that Guy gets exactly what's coming to him, the man shouted. Sasuke's eyes hardened. I would suggest you stop using your tongue right now if you don't want to stop using it forever. Sasuke growled out. Guren frowned. Tensions were high, and that was to be expected now that there was some measure of peace and calm. She was going to be honest. She would more than love to drive one of her crystals through this man's throat. But Guren and her crystals were the only safe haven for the people currently. If she turned against them, there would be no peace at all, and carnage would more than likely ensue after that. Guren tightened her fists. You had better watch your mouth, Guren called back as the people looked at her. Uzumaki. Naruto is a shinobi of Konoha. The instant you attack him, I will make sure you all suffer. Slowly, Guren said, which had Ibiki and Iruka at the ready. The people froze for a moment.
Sasuke-san, is what the said true? Sasuke turned his head and noticed Yura taking a couple of steps forward. Sasuke narrowed his eyes before turning back. It's not a lie, but it's not truth either. I was watching as well. Naruto wouldn't go with this organization even if all hell began to swam the nations. Sasuke said. Yura slowly nodded as she looked forward. Yura rolled her fist back and without a word, slammed the man in his throat, knocking him to the floor in a gasping fit. He choked on his own saliva as Yura pulled her fist back.
I don't care what you think Nae-san has done. You are not going to say bad things about him when I'm here. I'm sorry that all of you are angry and upset, but don't you dare direct that at my brother who saved your lives. You all ran out of those caves because you wanted to live. You didn't care who saved you. My brother and the rest of us did that for you. No one asked us to. If you want to see your loved ones again, then you're more than welcome to go back into those caves and die. But you will not slander my brother for saving all, Yura said, glaring at the crowd of people. Some of them took an unconscious step back. As soon as they did that, the earth violently shook. People screamed as they fell to the ground in shock and surprise. People screamed as the earth and their vision began to tilt sideways. In the distance, large stones flew into the air one after the other. Guren looked up as the crystal began to crack. She cursed before she placed her hand on the wall, reinforcing it with chakra and forcing it to repair itself. Guren grunted as she kept the walls as stable as she could. What's going on? Karen asked. Everyone watched as large pillars of rock raised into the air. Fujikaze could feel it in the sky. The feeling of spiritual energy. This is Shikio-sama, Fujikaze said as the others looked back at him in surprise. Naruto's doing this, Sasuke asked as everyone watched the earth from the mountain quickly form in the sky. The people screamed as the man whom Yuri had punched steadily rose to his feet. Do you see now? This is the power of their king and queen. It wasn't enough that we survived, but he is now going to make sure that none of us live to see the light of the sun ever again. We have to stop him before he kills us all. We have to. The man didn't get any further before his face was slammed into the ground, rendering him unconscious. Would you shut your damn mouth for once? Karen asked with a tick mark at the side of her forehead, but no one could deny the terror that was on everyone's face. Yura quickly turned. Fujikaze-san, how do you know this is Niwi-san? Yura asked, but she watched Fujikaze shake his head.
I am unsure if Shikyo-sama is the reason for the stones in the air, but I feel an immense presence of spiritual energy. It is no doubt connected to Shikyo-sama, Fujikaze said as the people screamed in fright. Gurren could feel her crystal dome shattering into pieces as the collective earth flew into the sky above.
So it is Uzumaki Naruto after all. He's going to kill us all. Why should we trust you? A woman asked as she covered her head. Yura's face saddened when she looked at the people and their frightened state. She looked over and noticed Sasame and Kataheim attempting to help who they could, along with the rest of the remainders Fuma clan. But it was slowly proving to be a futile effort. Yura could also see Shino, Amaru, and a couple of other medics working to cover the injured as best they could. All around, Yura could see chaos. Niue-san, Yura thought. Yura closed her eyes. She slowly drowned out all of the noise around her. For once, she was calm. Amidst the chaos, Uzumaki Yura got on her knees and clasped her hands together. Thank you, Shinigami-sama. Thank you for knowing the power of Nii-san. Thank you for trusting him with your power. It must be difficult having to keep balance between life and death. I don't know the weight of that responsibility, but Nii-san does. You blessed him with many talents and strengths. Please continue to give him strength, Yura prayed. Some people looked at the girl. She had the gall to pray right now. What god could you be praying to right now? Do you really think any god is going to help us? A man shouted as Yura kept her eyes closed and her hands together.
Far away, the Shinigami closed his eyes. How strange, a prayer dedicated to him, the omnipotent being symbolized as death and destruction. He remembered this girl's voice. Uzumaki Yura, if he had recalled. Even now the Shinigami could feel his summoner's body exploding with untapped power. She asked that he give Naruto the power to save them all. She thanked him for the things he did. She thanked him for the faith he placed in a human being. She thanked him for in her mind without him, Naruto would not have known about Yura nor Yuri. The Shinigami narrowed his eyes. No one would see it, but the Shinigami smiled. It felt good to be prayed to, once again. Interesting. Very well, Uzumaki Yura, I can grant a blessing. Just once, the Shinigami thought to himself.
XL. Naruto, the Kindred, and Shikamaru watched as the earth stopped rumbling. Naruto glared at the large planetary ball of earth in the sky. It was massive. No doubt it could be seen for miles from any of the four directions. Naruto held his hand over Kindred's bow. Even if you gave me all of your Anshao, it wouldn't be enough to crack that barrier. My arrows aren't that strong, Lamb said as Naruto frowned. He didn't know why, but he felt like he could do it. He truly felt like he could do it right now. He felt good. He felt better than good. He felt... You're not aiming at that big pile of rocks, Naruto said with a smirk. Lamb and Wolf blinked in surprise as they glanced to each other before they glanced back to Naruto. What are you planning in that head of yours? Wolf asked as Naruto looked upward. He couldn't see it, but the small seal at the back of his neck slowly started to expand. It trailed down his shirt and to his back. Far off, Nagato coughed out blood. That technique always did take a lot out of him, but with this he could lay this little matter with the QB Jinchuriki to a close. And then, he would make Kanan pay for her treachery. For traitors no quarter could be given. Nagato stilled his breath before he willed the Diva Path to stand over top of the large planetoid of stone. The Diva Path glared down at Naruto. Do you now understand the power of God, Uzumaki Naruto? Do you understand the power that will bring peace? Do you understand your futile attempts to challenge God? Pain asked as Naruto grabbed his sword.
You're no god, Nagato. You're just a man who got upset with the deal that life gave you. I'm not going to let that hunk of rock of yours hit this mountain. If I do, a lot of people are going to die, Naruto said. Pain frowned before he closed his eyes. So you believe that you can save everyone. While I do admire your resolve, I find it tedious. Know the power of God, Pain said. Before the mountain, before the horizon, before Naruto, the kindred, Shikamaru, all the spirits watching, the people screaming in terror, Pain pushed the ball out and had it fall to the ground. The massive planetoid hurled itself towards them. From the Earth's gravity it quickly began to pick up speed. The people on the mountain screamed, and from the multitude of people Naruto could hear their cries. He could see the spirits surrounding some of the people pleading for him to save them. It was funny. Naruto never saw himself as any type of savior. He knew that there was only so much that he could do as one person. But, I'll be damned if I let anyone die on my watch. Naruto shouted as he grabbed a hold of Lam's bow. Lam watched as the silver hair and silver eyes of her summoner and leapt before her bow blasted in an array of light. Pain narrowed his eyes from his place in the sky. It mattered not to him what they did. Lam and Wolf looked at Lam's bow, and just once, both could say that they were speechless. They could feel an unknown type of power ranging through the length of the bow. Kyuubi cracked open an eyebrow. You better have something planned. Even with us going into the eight-tailed form, that little piece of rock would be troublesome to try to get rid of, Kyuubi said. Naruto gave a small grin as the planetoid got bigger and bigger. Naruto grabbed his sword. Suddenly Naruto found darkness. He heard clicking, almost as if something was unlocking. He looked up and noticed that he was in front of a massive door. He looked at the door and grabbed it. You know what that is, don't you? Naruto didn't have to turn around to know that the shinigami was right behind him. Naruto did know what this door meant. Why am I here? Naruto asked. He turned around to stare his summon in the eyes. The shinigami peered into his summoner's soul.
Do not ask questions that you already know the answer to. As a god, I have received my share of unique offerings from people, but I have only allowed one type of people to praise or pray to me for my blessings. Regrettably, those people now inhabit my realm. It has been a long time since I have been prayed to or asked to give blessing. You have an interesting person at your side. Open the door, but trust that once the experience is over, you will possibly be unconscious from the experience. Are you still willing to go through with the experience? The shinigami asked. Naruto looked at the door before he looked back at the shinigami. Is this door that dangerous? Naruto asked. The shinigami's purple lips and sinister teeth cracked upwards into a smirk as he floated to his summoner. Ever since you became my summoner, and your mother had become your vow, all of the Hanshao, not just from myself, but from the spiritual realm, has flowed into your body at a steady rate. Even now it continues to do so. It was supposed to be a gradual process. In opening this door, you will be unlocking what your mother's own Hanshao has been saving for you. You will not be able to fully control it, no matter how hard you believe your will is. Once you learn to fully control this power, it is boundless what you will do with it. But for now, feel what just a fraction of the Hanshao that binds the entire world can do for you. The Hanshao and spiritual energy that binds my realm, he said. Naruto looked back at the door. He kept his hand on the door. Will I be able to stop that oversized volleyball from crashing into the mountain? Naruto asked. He turned around and noticed the shinigami had already vanished, but the voice of the god of death lingered in the air. That is up to you, Uzumaki Naruto, Shin said, his voice echoing in the air. Naruto turned back to the door and gave a small sigh. Without haste, he opened the door. Instantly, his vision was taken over by a white, overpowering aura. He had no choice but to cover his eyes. The kindred, Shikamaru, and even Pain were forced to close their eyes as a massive white light exploded over the mountain. Yura slowly opened her eyes, and the people looked up in awe, as the light was so strong that it pierced the storm clouds in the sky. Thank you, Shinigami-sama. Yura prayed one last time, as no one could deny the calming, yet overpowering aura that overtook all other pressure. Yura knew, she just knew in her heart that this power was from her lover. Even as she and the other people watched the massive planetoid of rock slowly descend upon them, she held no fear. Naruto would save them, just as he always had. The kindred couldn't even squint before they felt pressure on Lam's bow. You are going to fire that arrow at me. Get ready, a voice called to them. It was firm and full of power of the spiritual realm. The kindred could only recognize it as the voice of their master. Lamb couldn't even properly process the order that Naruto had just given her, as in the white light Naruto blasted from the platform he stood on. The light around him faded just enough for the kindred and Shikamaru to get a look. Shikamaru could only come up with one word. Kami? He thought to himself as he saw a long streak of white hair that fell down to the mysterious person's face. The hair was so beautiful that it actually sparkled in the storm. Wrapped around the person was a white robe. The hair flew past the person's waist, just ending at their bottom exterior. Shikamaru examined the face as best he could. Solid silver eyes filled with a rather godly aura, a firm jawline, yet a soft face and dulling. 3 clearly defined whisker marks. Wait, whisker marks. Don't tell me. That's Naruto, Shikamaru thought. How had Naruto changed so much? Just by the power he was exuding, Shikamaru should have been able to sense him, but there was nothing. Shikamaru couldn't even feel 1 inch of Naruto's aura, only the pressure that surrounded it. But Shikamaru could tell. He knew that this Naruto had the word authority wrenched into his body. Shikamaru felt like he couldn't breathe. When did Naruto become so divine?
Pain frowned as he glared at the divine figure who had replaced the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Pain had always thought himself to be a god, to be the divine being who could save the world from itself. He always thought that he would be the one to end the world's suffering. But, by the glowing aura that surrounded Uzumaki Naruto, it instilled a small instinct in Pain. It instilled a very primal instinct. The need for self-preservation. No, none can match the power of God. Especially not the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. If you think you can defy God, then let's see you try, Uzumaki Naruto, Pain said as Naruto and the large planet of stone neared each other.
Naruto glided through the air. A trail of spiritual fire followed his body. Naruto grabbed his blade from its hilt. The shadow of the planet of rock could not hide the light of his glory. As Naruto grabbed his blade, he closed his eyes. Right now, even with this fraction of death's divinity, he could feel the life and breath of every living thing. Naruto opened his eyes. Lamb, shoot me! Naruto shouted with a voice that echoed of divinity. Lamb broke herself from her stupor, as did Wolf. Lamb raised up her bow. Naruto-san, are you absolutely certain about this? Lamb asked. Naruto glanced back to her and only gave her a small smile. Wolf and Lamb erased all doubt with the smile that Naruto had given them. Lamb pulled her bow back as hard as she could before she fired the shot. A large blast of Anshao escaped her bow and fired directly at Naruto's person as he looked back at the planet of rock and stone. Closer and closer they came as Naruto opened his mouth. I'm going to make you understand the power of the god of death, Naruto said as his blade charged with the living essence of Hanshao. Each and every spirit that could have been watching fell to their knees in reverence. In every corner of the elemental nations, the people whom Naruto had revived, ranging from Gaara in Sunagakure to Hinako in Konohagakure, fell to their knees and bowed in the direction that Naruto was in. Naruto shouted at the top of his lungs.
From her place, Yura and the rest of the people marveled at the wondrous light as Yura turned to some of them. How can I trust Nisan? Yura answered as the people turned to her stunned and in awe. No one could utter a word when they saw Yura give a bright smile that seemed to be filled with the sun itself. Because I know that Nisan would save the world even if the entire world hated him, Yura said as the people turned back in utter shock.
Uzuno Fukush, Hyogata, Whirlpool Revenge, Template of Fire, Naruto shouted as he swung his blade at the planetoid. Naruto swung and swung and swung some more as he vigorously attacked the massive ball of stone and rock. Pain was stunned beyond belief as Naruto attacked the stone. Each strike of his blade ignited the stone with white flames. The flames quickly began to spread across the planetoid as Naruto attacked, and kept on attacking. Shikamaru, the kindred, and the people in terror on the mountain couldn't even speak as streaks of white fire exploded over the rock, earth, and stone.
Naruto kept swinging and swinging. Inside the planetoid, the flames blasted through the creeks and crevices. Each strike of Naruto's blade was like the flashing of lightning upon the sky. With a final swing, Naruto roared as the epicenter of the Chibaku technique exploded, shattering the rock satellite to pieces. Pain widened his eyes as his technique was blasted away into smaller rocks. Impossible, Pain said before the light of Naruto's power shined in his eyes. Naruto gave Pain a very harsh glare before he dropped his blade. His sword went swinging through the air as Naruto tightened his body.
Shikamaru and the kindred watched as Lamb's massively powered arrow slammed into the sole of Naruto's feet. Lamb and Wolf widened their eyes as Naruto channeled his Honshou to his feet to synchronize with the Onshou from Lamb's arrow. But what's he planning to do with it? Wolf asked, but Lamb had an idea on what their summoner was planning. The force of the arrow quickly propelled Naruto through the air as the tip of the arrow rested on Naruto's left foot. With its force, Naruto was able to effortlessly appear before a startled diva path. By now, with his Rinnegan eyes, Nagato could peer directly into Naruto's eyes. The two males stared into each other's eyes as Naruto spoke.
Nagato, have you ever heard these words? Naruto asked as his Honshou suddenly pulsated. It became so bright, so dazzling, so enchanting, that Nagato, from where he sat, was forced to close his eyes and the people below could only watch as Naruto's aura pierced the gray clouds. If you want to know the truth, then find me again. I'll be waiting to introduce you to your friend again. I swore no more people would die on my watch today, Naruto said before he gathered what he could of his Honshou. His long hair flapped in the bursting winds as he brought his fist back. Naruto roared a great shout in Pain's face.
Destroy and rebuild. Honshou, Daishoken. Power of life. Great redemption. Naruto shouted as he slammed his fist into Pain's chest. The Onshou that swelled in Naruto's arm suddenly exploded forth and buried itself into the Diva Path's body. Effortlessly, the flames burned the Diva Path down from the inside out. Nagato coughed out blood from his seat. Naruto roared his mightiest before he propelled his fist forward, releasing the pent-up force of his kinetic energy which sent the Diva Path flying through the skies above. People could only watch as a blast of might proportions dashed through the sky, and into the clouds, effortlessly parting them from the force that Naruto had used, which in turn opened up the hidden sun for all to see. Its radiance burned in everyone's mind as the Diva Path was launched across the mountains and into the horizon. People were speechless as they looked into the air. Yura could only smile as she saw a white figure in the sky. Everyone could see it. The combination of the sun, rain, and lightning was a magnificent work of art as they saw the silver-haired figure look down on the whole mountain from where he floated. His silver hair flapped in the wind, and people quickly fell to their knees in awe. Their loud cheers could be heard over the whole mountaintops as the figure looked at them, all celebrating his accomplishment. Naruto smiled down to them. "Let's go home, Databeo," Naruto said as gravity took hold and had him falling through the sky. Everyone watched as the silver, long hair retracted until it was replaced by bright yellow hair. His silver-white robe vanished back to his Hinoken clothes. Naruto fell through the sky before he was caught by the kindred. Lamb rested him on the ground. "His reserves are utterly drained," Wolf said. Lamb merely nodded. "I believe we made the right choice," Lamb said. Wolf grunted and both regressed back into the seal. It had taken a bunch of time, but people finally found where Naruto, Shikamaru, and Kushina laid. People glanced down at Naruto and the only thing they could see was the sun through the gray clouds, illuminating his body like he was the heir to the authority of all light. Some people were moved, others were still angry, some were silent, others were awed. But above all, no one could deny that right now, or perhaps to ever come, there would be no place safer than with this young man right here. This one who saved them all once again. Sasuke held up Konan as she looked at the unconscious blonde. Yura, Goran, Karen, Komachi, Ibiki, Iruka, and anyone else able to stand from their injuries, looked down at Naruto. Goran smiled. "That's my cousin for you," Goran said. Yura just smiled with a nod before she walked out and rested Naruto's head on her lap. She placed one soft kiss to his lips. "You might not believe it, Nai-san, but you will forever be our savior. Yura said with a smile, as the multitude of people who had been imprisoned in the mountain watched the interaction. Yura looked at Naruto and smiled. Truly a one-of-a-kind savior. XL. Meanwhile, far off and a vast distance away from the mountain, the Diva path couldn't move. Nagato made every attempt to move it as best he could, but it was a futile attempt. The bones were broken, the muscles were most likely torn, and there was most likely internal bleeding as well. Nagato frowned. That power. Since when did the Kyuubi Jinchuriki have such power? Itachi's previous reports never mentioned the Jinchuriki having that kind of power, Nagato thought to himself. It would be difficult, but he would have to retrieve the Diva path. You look like you could use a hand. Though unable to move, the Diva path turned its eyes and noticed a person with a mask looking down at him. Nagato frowned in his seat. It also seems that you now understand the power of our king. The one to revolutionize the world, the masked figure said. Pain didn't speak, and the man smiled behind his mask. So this is what the leader of the Akatsuki amounts to. Honestly, I suppose I can be surprised. I do believe we can benefit each other, seeing as how now you are. Short a member, the man said. The path continued to look at the masked figure. Its jaw was broken, so it couldn't speak. It could only look as the masked man slowly lifted up his mask, just enough to reveal his mouth. Pain looked at him. No doubt he was the leader of the group that had captured Conan. Pain could see an odd energy flowing around the man. It seemed to be similar to the Kyuubi Jinchurikis, but nowhere near as potent as what Nagato and the Diva path had just experienced. Ah, I see. This body can't speak for you. Well, that's fine. You reside in Amigakure, do you? I'll see you there, and then we can take in more detail, the man said. And Pain could only watch as the man lifted up the path and started walking. If you so happen to require my introduction, then you may address me as Regent, he said as he walked through the trees. XL. Naruto groaned as he opened his eyes. He was in a dark room. From the way his head leaned into a soft material, he realized that he was on a bed from the pillow. Naruto groaned as he leaned up and rubbed his head. Kami, what hit me? Naruto asked. As soon as he leaned up, he winced. Damn, his body was sore for a moment. What hit you would have to be the 1 week coma you found yourself in, brat, Kyuubi said as Naruto widened his eyes. 1 week coma? Naruto asked. Kyuubi chuckled. The shinigami warned you that the power was going to make you pass out, not matter how hard your will was. You should have seen the look on everyone's face after the 3rd day. They were all crying and bawling about you never waking up. But your mother reaffirmed everyone that you were alive, so they just let you rest. Good thing you weren't stuck with a needle in your arm, Kyuubi said. Naruto blinked as he rubbed his head from the story. So, what happened after I passed out? Naruto asked. Kyuubi offered a small smirk. Go see for yourself, brat, Kyuubi said to him. Naruto turned to the window and stood to his feet. He pulled open the curtains and gawked. He saw thousands of people littering the roads at night of Uzushogakure. Naruto could see thousands laughing, drinking, or eating. It might as well have been a regular festival. Did we always have this many people? Naruto thought. No way could some inhabitants from Wave make up this many people. If you care to notice, brat, a lot of those people were those that escaped from the mountain. Let's just say that your little savior act made everyone see you in a rather interesting light. Having no option for living, they came here and the place has been flooded with sounds of construction ever since you arrived in a stretch. The redhead girl who's a nurse looked after you every day, Kyuubi said as Naruto looked down at the ground. What happened to the daimyo, Guren-san, the rest of the team? And what happened to, Naruto rattled off as Kyuubi growled louder and louder. One at a time, you damn brat, Kyuubi barked out, which silenced his container for a time. Kyuubi offed as he stretched his legs. He then gave a small yawn. The daimyo is back in Hai no Kuni. He gave this place a letter for you, which I surmise that you'll read later. Your blue-haired cousin and her team reluctantly went back to Konoha. Yura asked the people to take good care of you since she was still on her mission. She will most likely be back in a couple of days. If you're wondering about your team, then don't. The Uchiha and his mother are resting in a separate room. Hatake Kakashi and Uzuki Yugao are resting as well. Your mother is also... They have been looked after as well. When you arrived, Rin had them put you all in the main house which you're in right now, Kyuubi answered. Naruto relaxed upon hearing those words. He took a deep breath to calm himself. His fingertips touched the windowsill. And Yuri-chan? Naruto asked. At this, Kyuubi grinned once more and cracked open one eye. Maybe if you looked behind you sometime, then you would be able to answer your own question, Kyuubi said. Naruto blinked and he turned around. When he had woken up, he had been looking at the ceiling, and then looked at the window. He hadn't seen Yuri sleeping in a futon just opposite from him. Her breath hitched as a small smile came to her face. Naruto walked over to her. He looked down at Yuri and grinned. Sambi told me how hard she fought. She actually took down one of the group's main force. He said she used a power he had not known that she could have used. She really does take after you. He said she fought tooth and nail for what she believed as her right to love you the way she wanted. You have a lot to acknowledge her for, Kyuubi said. Naruto gently smiled. Through the open breeze of the window, her red hair quietly blew. Naruto nodded. He hadn't known how hard Yuri fought, but for the Sambi to acknowledge it, then it must have been pretty damn hard. She really was a female him. Naruto leaned forward and placed a kiss to Yuri's lips. They felt warm and soft. However, Naruto was expecting a small kiss in preparation for things on a later date. Fate wouldn't let him off so easily. He blinked when he felt Yuri's mouth open and her tongue caress his lips sensually. Naruto pulled back in surprise. You're awake? Naruto asked as Yuri remained silent. Naruto glared. You're awake, aren't you? He asked as he folded his arm. It was still for a couple of seconds before Yuri pouted. Waited to ruin the mood. Neri-chan, Yuri said with a fold of her arms. Naruto looked at Yuri incredulously before he utterly laughed. Yuri looked back at him before she chuckled as well. How long have you been awake? Naruto asked. Yuri rubbed her neck. I saw you sleeping and I wanted to roam around, but apparently by Rinne's words I'm still a patient, so I was constricted to the futon. Not much to do, but sleep. At least until my prince woke me up, Databayan, Yuri said. Naruto smiled. Yuri shivered when she felt a hand on her cheek. She turned and noticed Naruto looking at her. Yuri leaned into his touch and felt his warmth. She gazed into his eyes. Neri-chan, what do you love about me? I'm not very girly. I say what's on my mind too much. And Yuri stopped when Naruto shook his head. Yuri is Yuri. I love Yuri.bio. From the top of her long hair to the bottom of her feet. I love you, Yuri-chan, Naruto said. Yuri stammered, but she calmed herself and released a breath. Neri-chan, fighting that woman, it made me realize a lot of things. What about you do I love? Neri-chan. When I think about the future and all that it scares me. Will Neri-chan continue to love me? Will I continue to love Neri-chan? I believe I will. Where would that take us? I know people are going to harass, whisper, and judge me for loving you, but I want to go through that with you. I want to endure it with you, Neri-chan. I want your child. Not today, not tomorrow, not even 5 or 10 years from now, but I will want your child. Not because it's a symbol of your love for me, but it's a symbol that I endured everything to be happy with the man I love, Databayan, Yuri said. Naruto silenced himself. He looked at Yuri. Yuri looked at him. Naruto didn't speak. He didn't need to. He surprised Yuri when he leaned forward and pressed his lips to Yuri's once again. Yuri widened her eyes as Naruto's tongue invaded her mouth. She didn't resist. In fact, with her own tongue, she guided him through her mouth like a journey through a sweet road of candy. Naruto's tongue flicked at the top of Yuri's teeth. Yuri released a soft moan as her right hand rested on Naruto's cheek. Her face flushed as Naruto scrapped Yuri's tongue with his own. Funny, now that Naruto thought about it, given the number of kisses that the two Uzumaki had partaken in, this one was by far the most subdued. A feel of love was here that wasn't in the previous encounters. Naruto slowly moved his hand and grabbed the folds of the covers of the futon. He slid the covers down as Yuri shimmied her body free from the covers. Her legs flew up slightly as her knees pressed upward. Naruto caressed Yuri's shoulders as he kissed her like a long-lost, held up her left arm, and wrapped her hand around Naruto's hair. A love that went against the natural world's morals. A love that many would disgrace a person's very name for. But it was a love that Yuri desired. Even if the whole world scorned her, she would never be ashamed of her love for her cousin. Yuri pushed Naruto's mouth deeper into her own. Naruto bit back any pain he might have had from waking up. He would not ruin this. Yuri's conviction, his understanding, her devotion, his determination. Naruto would honor all he and Yuri could give. Naruto shifted and Yuri accommodated him. She allowed his hands to roam her body from her chest to her waistline. Naruto memorized what he could of her form. His hands touched her slender legs. So much training was put into those legs, yet they still maintained their feminine shape. Yuri's hand left Naruto's cheek and fell to his arms. She memorized their muscular form. Yuri had always known Naruto to be fit. She had touched his body many times, but now her touch was sensitive. She could feel every edge of his form and she desired it. It was funny. Yuri had read many Bishonen comics and lots of era literature. Reality was a lot more interesting than fiction. She and Naruto had no dinner, no movie, or any of that foreplay to the event. She just outright desired him. How lucky was she that this wasn't fiction? Yuri and Naruto parted slowly as Yuri sucked on Naruto's tongue. She let go easily enough, and both could see that the other was panting and short of breath. Their faces were so close that Yuri could feel Naruto's hot exhales on her upper lip. She looked into Naruto's eyes. She nearly thought he was in a daze. Naruto could have said the same for her. Her chest huffed into his own. Her breasts hit his chest. Yuri chuckled lightly. Naruto halted. "Gomen, I'm laughing because I remember all those books I read. This isn't happening like how I thought it would," Yuri said. Naruto grinned. "Do you want me to stop?" Naruto asked. Yuri shook her head. "Never. After all I've been through, you are going to make love to me, Nai-chan. Fucking comes later. For now, I want you to make love to me. Remind me that no matter where you go or what you face, you will always have my love, Databayan," Yuri said. Naruto grinned and nodded as he and Yuri kissed once again. Naruto held up his hand and touched Yuri's cheek. Yuri sighed. How could her lover's hands feel so warm all the time? Like a fire that ignited the coal in her soul. It was what she longed for, and what made her last into eternity. Her legs scrapped against each other in enjoyment. Into the night, the sounds of Uzumaki taboo filled the household. Thank Kami that no one was there. XL. The regent smiled as the door to the largest tower in Amagakure opened. Such a dreary place with all the rain, but he didn't truly care. He quickly walked inside with the diva path in his arms. Either you are quite brave, or quite ignorant to believe that you can bargain with us. The regent looked up and noticed a man with an orange mask looking at him. Behind his mask, the regent grinned. It's not about being brave or ignorant. It's about the coming revolution for the glory of our king. Due to unexpected plans, I believe our goals can align. You desire the Kyubi Jinchuriki and the Sambi Jinchuriki. Well, I think we can help each other out, the regent said. Behind his mask, Obito frowned. And what is it that you would want? The regent and Obito watched as a man with long orange hair came out of the darkness. His face was just as pierced as the diva paths. The regent looked at him and smiled. Ah, another chakra conductor. I do wonder how many you actually have, he said. The second path's frown deepened. The regent sighed before he shook his head. What your organization wants is the biju. You hardly care what happens to the body afterwards. When you are finished extracting the QB, then I will take our king's body. All is for the sake of our revolution, he said. Obito and Pain glared at him. Somehow they were reminded of Haydn from this guy, except this guy was a bit more mellowed out. And what revolution would that be? Obito asked. The regent smiled behind his mask and looked to the two. The ground cracked underneath his feet. The revolution of blurring the lines between the living and the dead. The revolution of hell on earth, the regent said with a laugh that echoed through the tower. Quote, the fear really hits you. That's what you feel first. And then it's the anger and frustration. Part of the problem is how little we understand about the ultimate betrayal of the body when it rebels against itself. By Charles Bronson. Rin hummed as she walked through the halls. She was carrying a bucket of hot water along with a towel. It was time for her to check on the country's two most troublesome people. She quickly turned down a corner and continued in her stride. She walked up to a wooden door and knocked on it. Naruto-san, Yuri-san, I'm here to change your bandages, Rin said. She didn't get a response. Rin blinked before she knocked a little harder. It was almost the afternoon. Both should have been up and destructive at this point. At least that was the vibe she got from them, and from what Kakashi had told her. Only silence greeted Rin. Worry taking her over, she cleared her throat. I'm coming in, Rin said. She opened the door to their room and quickly noticed that it was vacant. Both of her patients were gone. Rin sighed as she placed the bucket of water on the floor. Just where could they both have gone? It wasn't like they could actually escape given that no one had seen hide nor hair of either of them. Rin hoped they didn't leave. She could only imagine that they were doing something that they shouldn't. At the very least, she hoped they were all right and not in trouble. It didn't take long before Rin heard the sound of water running. She turned her head and quickly heard that the sound was originating from the door to the very far right of the room next to the window. Rin blinked. Was that where one of them was? Rin quickly walked over and knocked on the door. Why, yes? Rin heard Yuri answer. Rin blew a sigh of relief. She then answered. Yuri-san, it's me, Rin. I was here to check on you and Naruto-san. I don't know where Naruto-san is. Do you know where he is? Rin asked. Rin was greeted by silence once again for a couple of moments. I haven't seen Noi-chan since this morning. He might be out TT training, Yuri said through breaths that Rin had slowly recognized. Rin blinked for a moment before she chuckled. I see. Kushina-san told me about Naruto-san's dislike for hospitals, but I guess she wasn't exaggerating. All right, Yuri. Thank you for the help. I'll be going. I've left you a change of clothes on your bed. I'll leave some here for Naruto-san in case he comes back. If you do see him before I do, then please tell him that he is in big trouble when I see him, Rin said before she was taken back by Yuri, letting out a soft moan. Yeah, big. So, big, very, big trouble. Let Noi-chan know if I see him. Oh God, I'll be coming soon, Yuri said. Rin quickly backed away. No, that's fine, Yuri. I won't disturb you anymore. I'll come check on you later while I go look for Naruto-san. I'll inform Kushina-san that you're awake, Rin said as she closed the door to the room behind her. Her footsteps vanished from behind the door and into the hallway, which left Yuri Uzumaki in the shower, not as alone as Rin believed. Noi-chan, you're so... mean. What if she caught us? Yuri asked as she felt Naruto shove his cock into her pussy. Yuri groaned as her body pressed against the side of the door. Well, then we would have had some explaining to do, Yuri-chan. Don't pretend you didn't enjoy the feeling. Just feel how your pussy's clamping down on my prick, Naruto said as he bit Yuri's earlobe. Yuri knew her brother was right. The ecstasy of them almost being caught had turned her on so much. The world learning of their illicit love and sexual activity had thrilled her. Sure, it scared her, but that only heightened her sexual senses. The chemicals from her brain released through her body as she felt her cunt walls guided Naruto's cock into the very reaches of her body. The hot shower water fell over their bodies. Yuri leaned over and brought her lips to Naruto's as one of her hands massaged his hair as Naruto plunged himself and indulged himself in the forbidden affair with his sister. Yuri panted as she kissed Naruto. Her tongue encircled his tongue in a warm, pleasing kiss that fired their bodies. Oh, fuck! Nei-chan, tell me more. Tell me more. Ew, about how shocked they would all be if... Ugh. They found us out, Yuri said. Slowly and sensually, he crawled his hands from Yuri's hips and up her waistline. He tickled the hairs on her body, electrifying her insides. Naruto then surprised Yuri and her shiver in delight as he grabbed her breasts before he pinched her hardened pink nubs. Imagine it, Yuri-chan. Uzumaki. Naruto and Uzumaki. Yuri caught in the shower. What an illicit scandal! Yuri Uzumaki was seen moaning and begging for her sibling as Uzumaki Naruto thrusted, pumped, and fucked her body just like she wanted. They would watch as my cock slowly slid out of your body just like this, Naruto said as Yuri felt Naruto gently and agonizingly pull his cock from her body. Yuri sucked in a hard breath as Naruto continued, only to shove it back in like a man possessed, Naruto said before he blasted his dick back into Yuri's body, giving the girl a loud moan as her legs weakened from the thrust for but a moment. Yuri moaned into Naruto's mouth. Yuri-chan would be labeled a pervert for wanting to have sex with her own family. Just look at her riding this cock. She looks like she's enjoying it. Does she have no shame? Naruto asked, his dirty talk knowing no bounds. Yuri panted and groaned. Her throat uttered the most basic of noises as Naruto pulled her nipples before kneading her soft, fleshy orbs with his hands. Oh, Kami, yes, I'm a pervert. I want Noi-chan's cock deep inside me. I'm a young, slutty sibling who wants her brother's potent cum deep inside her pussy. Do it, Ni-chan. Flood Yuri-chan's pussy with your baby-making milk. Impregnate me with your cum, Ni-chan. Ooh, fuck, Yuri said. Naruto couldn't even deny that Yuri was easily turning him on. He didn't know where she got this from, but Kami, he never wanted it to leave. Naruto could feel it coming as his dick contracted. God damn, I'm gonna do it, Yuri-chan. I'm gonna come, Naruto said as he fucked Yuri harder and faster. The water from the shower masked any sweat that appeared over their bodies. Yuri bit Naruto's lower lip as his had flesh pounded away at her cervix. Yuri could feel the walls of her snatch wrap eagerly around Naruto's penis. Yes, she wanted to be mated. She wanted to be screwed. She wanted to be fucked. Yeah, Noi-chan, come inside me. Fill me with your incestuous sperm, Yuri announced. Naruto couldn't take it anymore. He grabbed Yuri's hips before he slammed his cock forward, exploding his potent semen into Yuri's unprotected womb. Yuri could feel the hot fillings of her brother burn her inner body. She couldn't resist her own climax as she splashed Naruto's meat with her warm juices. Yuri's eyes sparkled as the water rained on their bodies. Naruto lurched forward and sighed against Yuri's backside. Yuri and Naruto huffed as Naruto's dick wilted and popped from Yuri's sheath. The evidence of their mating dripped from Yuri's pussy and to the shower floor before being washed away by the water. I know, I said, I didn't want your child just yet, but I don't think I'm going to hold out at this rate. Niri-chan, Yuri said. Naruto grinned before he kissed Yuri's cheek. I'll be sure to take care of the both of you when the time comes, Naruto said. Yuri gave him a wide grin before she shared a lasting kiss with him. She was overjoyed to share the moment with the closest person to her heart. The water of the bath washed away their coupling. XL. Naruto, having gotten dressed from his shower with Yuri, walked down the stairs of the compound. He noticed how empty it was and gave a quick sigh. It was most likely that everyone else was still resting, given how they couldn't heal as fast as Naruto and Yuri could. That said, Naruto did wonder how Gurren and her team were faring. He remembered that they had gone back to Konoha for both Hinoken and themselves to report that the mission was a success, though not without casualties. Naruto sat on one of the couches on the room for a second. "You know, Rin's looking for you. Apparently you're supposed to be in bed." Naruto jumped at the voice before he gave a smile. He flipped his head behind the couch and noticed Kushina smiling at him. "You know me, Kachan. I can't stay like that forever." "There is too much to do," Naruto said. Kushina smiled at her son before she fell her head over his. She leaned down and captured her son's lips. Naruto accepted the kiss with fervor as he used one of his hands to gently glide through his mother's hair as she kissed him. Naruto could feel his mother's tongue against his teeth, and for a moment he wondered if he was going to have to take a shower again, but Kushina gave him the answer when she pulled away and leaned up. "Later, we have work to do, both for Konoha and for Hinoken. Go put on your uniform," Kushina said. Naruto gave his mother a sharp grin before she quickly leaned into his ear. "I would also expect my new life partner to get me something signifying that I am now officially taken database. Perhaps he should get on that," Kushina said before she kissed her son's cheek. Naruto widened his eyes as Kushina walked away from him. Naruto watched her saunter away. Kami, he loved his mother. Hearing her message, Naruto leaned up and walked back upstairs. He walked into the room that he and Kushina shared and opened his closet. Since his last outfit had been torn to too many pieces to count, Naruto picked out another one that he had received a couple of days ago. Naruto quickly dressed himself and walked back down the stairs to see Yuri waiting for him. "I heard you talking with Kushina. Let's not keep them waiting anymore," Yuri said with a smile. Naruto chuckled with a small sigh. He made Yuri jump when he smacked her ass as he passed her. Yuri only giggled before she followed after Naruto. The two Uzumaki quickly made it from their clan compound and into the streets. Given that both had been put to strict bed rest for the past week or so, one could imagine Naruto and Yuri's surprise when they saw just how many people were flooding the streets. "Yo, Naruto-sama. How's it going? Lovely day for fishing, isn't it?" Naruto turned his head in surprise as he noticed a man with a large beard waving at him. Yuri grinned as she elbowed Naruto in the ribs. Naruto glanced at her and noticed her sly grin. Naruto chuckled before he offered the man a thumbs up. "You bet, Osan. You go get 'em, Dad Bayo," Naruto remarked. The man waved him off as Naruto walked in confusion. He had never been addressed like that before. "Naruto-sama, you were pretty awesome back there. Sorry for ever doubting you." Naruto then turned and noticed a woman waving at him from the top of her window. Naruto just waved. What the hell was going on here? Naruto and Yuri walked off as the woman smiled brightly at him, though he had no idea of why. Naruto and Yuri kept walking, and it became even more apparent to Naruto that something was very much different, as many people were quick to acknowledge him. Some wished him a good day, others thanked him for saving them, some complimented him and Yuri, others just told him how their day was going. But all in all, Naruto noticed that all this news being told to him was given to him with a smile on people's faces. He didn't get it. Yuri from her place smiled as she watched. So apparently her cousin had turned into a celebrity. She didn't know when, why, or how, but it was a very amazing sight regardless. Well, her cousin was amazing after all. Yuri smiled behind Naruto. "I always knew you were awesome, Nei-chan," Yuri thought to herself as they continued walking. Yuri just enjoyed her place next to Naruto as the blonde continued receiving praise after praise. Naruto, on the other hand, was very much confused by the state of events transpiring before him. It had taken Naruto and Yuri about 8 minutes to make it towards their destination, which had been a small little house just away from the main town. The house was covered by a couple of trees, but it wasn't too far out of the way. Naruto quickly opened the door. He and Yuri came through and noticed a large group within the living quarters. He noticed Kushina sitting on the couch, and across the room was Itachi, Suigetsu, Jugo, Sasame, the doctor, Shino, his apprentice, Amaru, and Kakashi's former teammate Rin, who was glaring at Naruto. Where have you been? I've been looking all over for you, Naruto-san. You can't just leave your room whenever you feel like it. I knew I should have taken Kushina-san's advice and tied you down. At least next time tell me when you're going training, just so I can look you over before you go. I might not be the best medic in the world, but I do know my fair share, Rin said with a sigh. Naruto grinned as he scratched his cheek. Yuri's face quickly matched the color of her hair. Yeah, that was such wonderful training. A lot of workout was involved in that. Kushina took a short glance at Yuri before she turned to her son as he gave Rin apologies. Kushina only smirked as she shook her head. Perhaps no one had noticed. But Yuri did seem to be walking a little funny, and it was only a funny that someone like Kushina could relate to. Kushina quickly cleared her throat. Alright, Rin, you can have Sochi write you an apology later. But right now we have business to discuss, Kushina said. Rin gave her deceased sensei's former wife a glance before she just exhaled a tired breath and nodded. She gave Naruto a look that told him they weren't done with the conversation. Naruto rubbed the back of his head and chuckled nervously. With Rin's flames of indignation subsided for the present conversation, Kushina cleared her throat. Now then, Shino-san, you can give us your report, Kushina said. Shino quickly nodded as he held up a notepad. Everyone's eyes focused on him. Well, I suppose I can start with the good news. Everyone that is administered into the temporary facility is resting well. I have done what I could, and I think we're to see positive results within a couple of weeks. Uchiha-san has been rather adamant to leave our intensive care. Thankfully, Amaru is capable of talking him down, Shino said. Amaru smiled at the slight praise. Naruto and Kushina gave small exhales that quickly led to smiles. At least the team was slowly recovering. Of course they wouldn't be able to heal like Naruto and Yuri did, but all that mattered is that they were all right. If possible, could you now move on to the bad news? Itachi asked, leaning off the wall. Naruto raised an eyebrow as Amaru looked at the ground. Shino's face softened for a moment before he took another breath before looking at the chart. Well, for Momochan Zabuza, our apparent daimyo, Haku-san, Uzumaki Komachi-san, Uzumaki Karen-san, and several other patients are still feeling some effects of chakra exhaustion and physical fatigue. I suppose this to not be anything out of the ordinary, as most of us spent more than a couple of weeks in those caverns. Even some members of the Fuma clan have been showing these signs, but I suppose that comes as no surprise to anyone. We have had a couple of people who claim they are unable to use their chakra. I currently have myself, Amaru, Rin-san, and some of the other staff I've hired to work are currently looking into the issue itself, Shino said. Naruto gave Sasame a glance. She seemed crestfallen at the news. It made Naruto wish to actually help her in some way. She was a very good friend after all. We will keep looking into this in the future. Now then, as to Uchiha Sasuke, Uzuki Yugao, and Hatake Kashi, all three are still in intensive care. I actually don't think either will be moving about for 3 to 4 weeks. Uchiha Sasuke has some severe instances of chakra drainage, and I do believe that he has a couple of fractured ribs in some areas. Uzuki Yugao has a broken leg, and Hatake Kashi has some internal bleeding which we are still taking care of, Shino also reported. Kushina sighed as she placed a finger to her chin. That wasn't a good sign. Nkaya-san. Everyone glanced and noticed Itachi with his eyes set on Shino. The doctor gave Itachi a glance and then released a breath. Uchiha Mikoto is still in the air. She has woken up thankfully. However, she claims that a lot of her body is sore, which we anticipate as the strain of using the famed Dojutsu of your clan. We had to reset her heart a couple of times because we almost lost her 3 times, but she's a tough woman. She didn't go down without a fight. Though, I'd have to say it's peculiar. She claims that she has lost all vision in her left eye. I see it as well. I have checked her cornea, and by all accounts she is now blind in her left eye, Shino explained. Itachi narrowed his eyes. I see. Then either Ka-san has done one of the most impactful things for everyone at the cost of her eye, Itachi said. This got everyone's attention. What do you mean by that? Amaru asked. Itachi looked around the room before he released a breath. There are two Kenjutsu abilities usable by the Sharingan. We call them Izanagi and Izanami. Izanagi is the ability to quite literally distort and remove the boundaries between reality and illusion. It's not the typical genjutsu that is casted on others, but it is casted on the user of the technique. It turns real into fake and fake into real. If Naruto-san perhaps fatally injured me, then I would be able to use the technique which controls my state of existence. If I believe I am alive, then I will be alive, and without injury. It is a process that is explained to require both yin and yang chakra. Yin chakra to create shape and form from nothingness. Then, through the application of vitality and the physical energy which forms the basis of yang chakra, to breathe life into the prior form. It could easily turn the tides of every battle or war if used correctly, Itachi said. Nearly everyone was in awe. Even Kushina hadn't been aware of that type of ability. Naruto and Yuri widened their eyes, as did the others in the room. But the trade-off is losing the eye you used it with forever, right? Naruto asked. He knew about powerful techniques more than anyone, and judging by Makoto, Itachi's story, and Naruto's own experiences, then he knew that techniques were not without their sacrifices. Itachi smirked. That is correct, Naruto-san, Itachi said. The eldest Uchiha sibling gave a small sigh before he continued on with the former explanation, now turned lecture. The Izanagi is not portrayed in the best light for the Uchiha clan. There was a time where, yes, it was used for what it should have been used for. It was used to turn the tides of a fight, or in the most dire of dire situations. But as with any power, it will slowly corrupt wielders who are incapable of great wisdom and humility. It was overused by the Uchiha clan. Squabbles rose day after day between members in their thirst for power. They used the Izanagi to change their circumstances, or the undesired results of their actions. They feared the reality that they would go down if they persisted. It led not only to many blindness cases, but also to many eyes being taken from clan members to use the jutsu once again. It was very dark time for the Uchiha clan. It was a technique to alter destiny, Itachi said. Sheesh, is there a good ending to this story? Suigetsu asked, which got him a shush from Jugo. Itachi glanced up. There is a light to this story, and it is called Izanami. The Izanami's creation was to counteract the effects of the Izanagi, or the wielder of the technique. This explanation gets a little wordy, so I ask that you bear with me, Itachi said. Everyone nodded, so Itachi continued. It is a genjutsu which affects the target through physical sensations shared between them and the user to perform the illusion. Like the Izanagi, in exchange for the temporary ability that it grants the user, the Sharingan with which Izanami is cast is rendered blind and loses its light forever. It's another of our clan's ultimate genjutsu. Izanagi is about altering destiny. Izanami is about deciding it, Itachi said. Yuri perked up and raised her arm. Hey, isn't that kind of like Ni-chan's time? Stop technique, Yuri asked. Everyone paused for a moment, which gave Itachi a chuckle. Naruto-san's Kukenugami technique is very powerful. I do believe it to be on par with the Izanami in some areas. It does allow for manipulation and targeting physical sensations, and it has a larger time length than the Izanagi, but the Izanami doesn't stop time. It forces the opponent to loop it, Itachi said. Yuri just nodded slowly as Itachi continued. To begin the technique, after selecting any arbitrary, or random, moment, the caster uses their Sharingan to remember the physical sensations both of their body and that of their opponents during that instant, like a photograph. We can call this real world. The user must then intentionally replicate the same sensation, and in the same way, memorize that instant with their Sharingan. We can call this fake world. Izanami overlaps and connects these two identical bodily sensations from both real world A and fake world A, as well as the flow of time between them, creating an infinite loop of events that entraps the opponent's consciousness. The user can also use their Sharingan to remember multiple sensations, such as real world, B, C, D, and going on. It is those previously felt sensation that will be used when Izanami is activated. The user also doesn't need necessarily to replicate real world A with fake world A to initiate Izanami. They can also replicate real world B with fake world B, or real world C with fake world C as well. The more sensations they memorize, the better their chances would be to initiate Izanami on a person, and the more sensations the victim will experience each time they repeat a loop. Itachi explained. He glanced and noticed everyone silent. He had to give a chuckle at the lost look on Yuri, Suigetsu, and Jugo's faces. Shino was merely looking on fascinated. Sasame and Amaru were surprised, but Naruto and Kushina were in wonder. Kyuubi, can it actually do all of that? Naruto asked, which got the formerly orange, now white, fox to pop open one of his eyes. I wouldn't know since I have never experienced that technique specifically against the Uchiha clan. But if what he explains is true, then those eyes were made even stronger than perhaps the old man intended. Kurama answered. Naruto frowned, but gave the fox a thanks before returning to the conversation. Wait, I don't think I get it, Yuri said. Amaru cleared her throat and gave Yuri a small smile. I guess you could think of it as like watching and rewatching a movie. The sounds you hear from the movie are the sensations that you feel. Itachi-san would be the director, forcing the viewer to relive a certain scene over and over from the movie by producing effects and sounds to resemble the scene you just watched. Something like that, Amaru said. Yuri nodded with an appreciative smile. So wait, Mikoto-san used one of those techniques then, right? But from the description that Zabuza-san gave, it sounded like she managed to perform this Izanagi technique that Itachi-san describes, Amaru said. Kushina nodded as her mind went to her closest friend in their unit. If that's the case, then Mikoto really is a spectacular kunoichi, Kushina said. Naruto couldn't help but agree with his mother. He had no idea Sasuke's mother was that amazing. Well, I thank you for the explanation, Itachi-san. Mikoto-san is currently resting in her room, so other than Itachi, I ask that she have no other visitors unless it is dire? That is all I have to report for now, Shino said with a small bow before he quickly headed for the door along with Amaru, who waved a goodbye to Yuri and Sasame. Yuri quickly yelled out. Wait, Yuri called. Shino and Amaru turned around as Yuri frowned. What about Konan-san? Yuri asked. Shino and Amaru seemed surprised for a moment before Shino held up his notepad and looked it over. He read down some of the list that he had been given. Ah, Konan-san. How could I have forgotten? Apologies. She is doing well also. She does have a bit of difficulty walking as it took us some time to remove the chakra receptors from her body. And then we had to stop any of her blood escaping. We made a very successful surgery for that and have given her some medication to help her sleep. She will be starting her physical therapy in perhaps a week or two. Need me to give her a message? Shino asked. Yuri gave a sigh of relief, but shook her head. Shino and Amaru walked out the door as Yuri waved after her friend. The door closed. Still, your clan is pretty awesome. You guys really do revolve around those eyes of yours, don't you? Suigetsu asked. Itachi didn't spare Suigetsu a glance and kept his silence. Suigetsu merely snorted and folded his arms. Damn arrogant Uchiha pricks. Naruto's eyes shifted to the right and focused on his mother. So, what are we going to do, Kea-chan? Ba-chan's nice and all, but she's not going to give the whole unit time off for a month. Is it just going to be you and me? Naruto asked. Kushina scratched her scalp, which messed with her red hair a tad. She then slumped her shoulders. Well, it's either that or we look for replacements. But if that's the case, then we'll have to return to Tsunade. She made the team after all. Yuri also needs to return back to Konoha as well. The Chunin exams are coming up for her, Kushina answered. Naruto nodded, but Yuri quickly came between it. But What about Konohamaru and his team? Iro Oji-san's soul is kind of bound to mine right now. Am I going to let him take over my body and let him teach them or something? Yuri asked. Naruto tapped his finger. That's right. There was still Shizune and Ibisu to deal with. Perhaps Naruto would need to go over it with the Shinigami about this. Naruto hoped that some sort of arrangement could be made. Well, if anything happens, I'll deal with it, Databeo, Naruto said with a grin that could light up the room. Yuri chuckled with a nod. I will go check on Kaya-san. Farewell, Kushina-san, Naruto-san, Itachi said as he walked out of the door. Yugo and Sugetsu quickly followed after him. Naruto then turned over to Sasame. He grinned. You've gotten taller, Naruto remarked. Sasame gave a light grin as she leaned off the wall. You got taller also. I'm glad you decided to change your attire. Your last one was atrocious, Sasame said. Naruto's eyebrow twitched as he glared hard at Sasame. Sasame gave him a glare of her own. Really? Man, I didn't think you hated your own hair color. You might want to dye it then if orange is such a bad color, Naruto answered back. Kushina and Yuri blinked as they watched the two interact. Sei's glare hardened before she marched up to Naruto. The two stood face to face with each other. They glared angrily. Yuri and Kushina stiffened. Suddenly, Sasame flew forward and wrapped her arms around Naruto's neck. Naruto wrapped his arms around Sasame's waist. Both laughed aloud as Sasame gave Naruto a hard hug. You haven't changed at all. You still think with your mouth instead of your head, Sasame said. Naruto grinned. Hey, I've gotten plenty smarter, Datbeo. You just haven't been there to see me be awesome is all, Naruto answered her. Sasame grinned before she freed herself from Naruto. Yeah, awesome and all that. I saw plenty of that back at the caves. Remind me to stay on your good side, Sasame replied. Naruto folded his arms and his lips curved upwards. You'd have to try pretty hard to get on my bad side, Sasame, Naruto answered her. Sasame slowly nodded. That was duly noted. Sasame and Naruto quickly smacked their hands against each other and smirked. A cough stopped their introduction as the two turned to see Kushina and Yuri, looking very much confused. Nemi-chan, you know her? Yuri asked. Naruto blinked. Yup, had a mission with her, Sakura and Iro Sennin. We go way back, Naruto said. Sasame rolled her eyes. Yeah, because 2 or 3 years was way back, wasn't it? Sasame just shook her head with a mall smirk. So what does your clan plan to do now? I assume you have a current destination? Kushina suddenly asked. Sasame stared at Kushina for a second before her eyes wandered to the side a tad bit. She then glanced back to the 3 Uzumaki. Well, Kodoheim is still the clan head. We haven't yet made a decision on those matters. This has been our first time in the outside world in perhaps a good number of months. We were in those caves a long time. I'm sure we're all just enjoying the feeling for now before deciding that, Sasame said. Kushina nodded. The redhead could understand that. I see. Well, you are more than welcome to stay here until you have discovered what you want to do, Kushina said. Sasame gave a slight bow and quick word of appreciation. Now then, if you will excuse us, Sasame-san, the 3 of us have to pack. We are needed back in Konoha, Kushina said. Sasame nodded as she watched Kushina grab a surprised Naruto and Yuri before she pulled them out of the door. Sasame shook her head. Honestly, now she was just thinking that all Uzumaki were crazy individuals. Meanwhile, Naruto, Kushina, and Yuri left the room. As the 3 walked through the forests, Yuri gave a solemn look. Noi-chan? Kushina-san? What am I going to tell Tsunade-san? Yuri asked. Naruto glanced back to her for a moment. He could see the look of worry upon Yuri's face. Well then, how about we find out right now? Naruto asked. Yuri blinked, as did Kushina. Both redheads wondered what their lover could have been planning. Naruto quickly took them off the path to the town and into a more secluded part of the forested area. It had only taken about 10 minutes for Naruto to take them to where they wouldn't be disturbed. Yuri and Kushina watched as Naruto went through his motions of summoning. Kushina held a look of surprise, but that surprise slowly faded to a smirk. True, the answer was a little bit simple if he was just going to do that. Kushina honestly couldn't remember a time where Naruto didn't do this, since he realized some of his duties as a summoner to the shinigami. Quickly the shinigami appeared before Naruto, Yuri and Kushina in his ethereal appearance. His purple skin only made the white robe he wore even more apparent. Honestly, Kushina almost felt unnerved before the god of death, even if it was thanks to him that they could be this way. Perhaps every human was that way. Kushina wasn't sure. She glanced back to see the shinigami staring down at them. "I see you have awoken from your slumber," the shinigami said in that deep tone that Naruto was getting used to. Naruto scratched his scalp with a nod. "Yeah, it got me good. Can't really remember anything after the fight and before I woke up in my room," Naruto said. Shin looked down at his summoner. He knew the others couldn't tell, but he could see it. Day in and day out, his summoner was getting stronger and stronger as more and more of the planet's raw spiritual energy drew itself to him. Perhaps in a couple of months it would be time to move on to the next step, but for now he would have to sate the curiosity of his summoner. "What is it you need?" Shin asked. Naruto cleared his throat. "I don't know how to say this, Shin, but is it possible for a soul to bind to another soul?" Naruto asked. The shinigami looked at his summoner mysteriously before his eyes turned to Yuri. Her spiritual essence was sharper than previously. He remembered that sensation back in a week ago. It obviously wasn't his summoner nor his valve that did this. The shinigami turned to Yuri. "Step forward," he told her. Yuri swallowed the lump in her throat before she inched forward. She stood before the shinigami as he stared at her. It is not impossible for mortals to bind their souls to that of a spirit's. It's very rare, however. One reason is that it is easy for the soul of a deceased to take over the soul of a mortal. The spirit has much more spiritual pressure and power, allowing it to take over easily, but there are those mortals who have spiritual power stronger than that, so they are able to merge. The shinigami said. Everyone watched as the god's purple arm and hand outstretched themselves and over Yuri's body. His eyes glowed with the white power of the spiritual realm. It is impossible for most living to even see spirits. There are perhaps 3 exceptions to this rule. 1. They are born with high spiritual essence in their mortal bodies, thus allowing them to see the various manifestations of ethereal beings. 2. There is your case, summoner, where I have granted you this ability. Or 3. The person is most likely near death. The shinigami replied. Naruto shivered before he glanced at Yuri. He couldn't believe how close he was to actually losing her. He took a still breath to calm himself. Kushina took a glance at her son, and she could see the worried expression on his face. Kushina then turned her gaze back to Yuri, and she noticed that Theo Uzumaki had her eyes closed, as a shroud of white mist reigned over her body. It only lasted for a moment, as the mist shroud faded away into mist of the island. The shinigami stared at Yuri as the girl opened her eyes a bit tiredly. His beady eyes stared into her form before he turned to Naruto. Your question is most likely about the 2 souls that are currently attached to Uzumaki. Yuri's soul, correct? The god of death asked. He watched Naruto firmly nod. Yeah, I wanted to bring them both back. Could I still do that? Naruto asked. The shinigami turned to Yuri, and he then closed his eyes. Honestly, incidents like that hadn't even happened before, but of course it would happen with his summoner. Honestly, he wondered if these incidents would happen again. For some reason, he could just imagine Amaterasu and Tsukuyomi laughing at him. Not that he cared, but he could imagine it. How long have you had these souls connected to you, girl? The shinigami asked. Naruto and Kushina took a glance at Yuri. She cleared her throat. From the time in the cave to right now, then about a week. Give or take 2 or 3 days, Yuri answered to the being. The shinigami looked at her before his jagged teeth and mouth released a sigh. So not that long. In that case, it is precisely doable. Perhaps you should feel confident that you are of the Uzumaki lineage. If you hadn't been, then most likely this could have killed you, but your longevity will help with that. Now, I will be willing to separate these two from you, but there are obvious consequences. One is that you will retain all of the memories and experiences that these two souls have acquired over the time of their lives to this point. The Shinigami refused to grumble when he noticed Naruto about to interrupt. Wait, you mean they aren't going to have their memories anymore? Naruto asked. Shin just gave a calmed breath and focused his eyes on his summoner. I had not said that. I said that she would retain their memories. The soul comprises everything about a person. I will essentially create or reinforce the memories that they have up to this point. This normally takes one of your human days. They may have a couple of issues with memory loss for a couple of hours, but it will fill itself out over the course of the day. The Shinigami explained. Naruto, Kushina, and Yuri nodded to the explanation. The Shinigami felt some peace enter his mind. Honestly, the only thing wrong with dealing with situations like this was all the explaining to sat natural human curiosity. He really came to believe this was one of humanity's strengths and weaknesses. Second consequence is the unnatural energy source that you mortals have. Your chakra I am speaking about. These two will not be able to mold chakra for a brief period of time. Before you ask, I am uncertain of when that is. You will have to take that into consideration, he said. Kushina blinked in surprise. That was going to be difficult to explain to Tsunade, but if that was one of the consequences, then Kushina couldn't exactly do anything about it. She just took a deep breath, but she gave a nod. Naruto gave a nod as well. Yuri nodded as well. It was a price to pay, but Yuri did want them back. She supposed she would have to deal with the memories from the two, but Yuri hoped that she would be fine with that. Well, she hoped anyway. Seeing that he had their acceptance and their curiosity sated, the Shinigami got to his work. His hands quickly started to glow with the same white energy which powered Naruto's abilities. Naruto and Kushina watched as Yuri, by the Shinigami's power, floated into the air. The beads which wrapped the Shinigami's arm unfurled themselves, and then he settled them onto Yuri's neck. Yuri watched nervously when the Shinigami took his short blade from his lips. He held it up menacingly. It was actually at this point if Yuri truly wondered how benevolent the Shinigami was. She glanced back to Naruto. She really hoped that he remembered that she still had yet to die. She hadn't even gotten knocked up yet. Yes, that was her decision, but still. It works better if you attempt to not. The Shinigami swung forward and stabbed his blade into Yuri's chest. Yuri felt the air get knocked out of her body so fast that the pain couldn't even register in her brain for a brief moment. She could feel the white-hot fire from the blade seep into her body. The pain forced Yuri to bite her lip and make it bleed. She could feel her soul burning like a leaf in the flames. Her body arched back from the pain. Luckily for Yuri, the process wasn't long as the Shinigami tightened his grip upon his sword. And in one swift motion, he pulled the blade from Yuri's stomach. Naruto and Kushina watched in slight awe as a pillar of white energy exploded from Yuri's body. There was just a small tether which connected Yuri to the pillar of energy. The Shinigami released his sword from Yuri's chest, which had her falling through the air. Naruto quickly jumped up and caught her. He held her in his arms. The white tether still remained attached to her. A warning would have been appreciated, dat Bayan, Yuri remarked with a pained caw. The Shinigami looked at her. As I was saying, the process is a lot easier when the recipient least expects it. You offer less resistance to the process that way. Besides, I have what I need, the Shinigami said. Yuri snorted. So glad to be helpful. Everyone stared at the white pillar. The Shinigami retracted his short sword and grabbed the pillar with both his hands. Then, using the strength of his ethereal body, he ripped the pillar in half. The white pillar exploded in fire and swirled into the air. The three Uzumaki watched as the Shinigami inhaled some of the flames. Slowly, the fire got smaller and smaller before it began to form the shape of a man and a woman. The forms began to harden out as they were gently placed in front of Naruto, Kushina, and Yuri. The light of the flames slowly began to die out, and Yuri's eyes widened, and her smile brightened when she noticed Shizune and Ebisu sleeping on the ground. Naruto gently let Yuri down. Yuri attempted to walk to them, but the moment she moved her legs, she dropped to the ground and held Naruto for support. "I guess you can't walk yet," Naruto said with a cheeky smile. Yuri grinned back at Naruto. Today just seemed to be the day for her to have shaky legs. I presume that will wear off on her in a couple of moments. Keep yourself together, my summoner. For soon you will perhaps have one of your greatest lessons in the future. I would advise you to make it interesting for me. Farewell, the Shinigami said, placing a fair bit of concern on Naruto's face. As the Shinigami faded out of sight, Naruto turned to his mother as he held Yuri. "What do you think he meant by that?" Naruto asked. Kushina really didn't know what to tell her lover-son-fiancé. She was essentially as much in the dark as he was about anything concerning these ordeals. "I'm not sure, Sochi. But whatever happens, I will attempt to help you through it. But for now, what we should do is take care of Yuri, Shizune-san, and Ebisu-san." "No doubt they are going to be a little disoriented," Kushina said. Naruto and Yuri agreed. It hadn't taken Kushina and Naruto long to transport the three back to the main compound. Yuri slowly got the feeling back in her legs and offered her assistance to them. Slowly, Shizune and Ebisu began to wake up. "Who are you?" Naruto turned his head in surprise to see Shizune looking at him curiously. "You don't remember me?" Naruto asked. Kushina and Yuri blinked when Shizune shook her head. Naruto, Kushina, and Yuri looked at each other. That was most likely the memory problem rearing its ugly head. The Shinigami did say that it would stay for a couple of hours or to the end of the day. "What do you guys remember?" Yuri asked. Shizune blinked at the young girl before she looked up at the misty sky. "Just my name, I believe. Can I be let down?" "This is a little embarrassing," Shizune said. However, she only had a look of confusion on her face when Kushina shook her head. Shizune wondered why she wasn't allowed to. "Sorry, but if you don't remember us, then I think you need your rest. It looks like you have forgotten more than just us. Then I don't think you should be overexerting yourselves. Just let us take you someplace safe and allow you to rest. We would just like to see if you remember anything. We just want to make sure you don't get more hurt than you are right now," Kushina replied. Shizune just nodded slowly. "Were we on a mission?" The question came from Ebisu. Yuri looked at him in surprise. "You remember that?" Yuri asked. Ebisu rubbed his head with a small groan. He nodded at Yuri's question and released a small breath to steady himself. His vision was blurry even with the glasses on his face. Honestly, everything looked like it was spinning. He attempted to straighten his vision. "I do believe so. Is Sandaime-sama aware of our presence?" Ebisu asked. Naruto frowned at the mentioning of the third Hokage. Kushina and Yuri only gave hard sighs. So the memories were only coming back in pieces. Perhaps it was as the Shinigami said, and all the memories would be in place after the next 24 hours. "We'll inform him tomorrow. For now, you two gotta rest," Naruto said, which ended the discussion right then and there. Kushina and Yuri glanced at Naruto. Both noticed he was a tad upset about the direction of the conversation. Both knew that the Sandaime was a touchy subject for Naruto, who still harbored some feelings of resentment towards Orochimaru and Otogakure for the invasion. The five arrived to the house. Naruto and Kushina placed Shizune and Ebisu in different rooms. Naruto offered both a cup of water while Kushina quickly fixed a hot meal of shell soup. Yuri smiled as she walked out of the door. "I'm going to go see if Shino-san can't come over for a little bit and look them over. After that, I'll start packing my things to go back to Konoha," Yuri said. Naruto and Kushina gave their agreement as they watched Yuri leave. Kushina turned to her son and jabbed her finger into his chest. "Well, I think Yuri has everything covered, Datbane. I'm going to go change for a moment. Then you and I are going back out." You have a certain obligation to fulfill, Sochi. I will make sure you fulfill it, Databane, Kushina said. Naruto didn't even get the chance to reply before his mother captured his lips. He could feel her tongue massage his effortlessly. The way she snaked it around his mouth only left him too stunned to reply before she moved herself up the stairs. Naruto just watched her go. Kami. He loved that woman. Naruto licked his lips. Strange, that kiss tasted a bit different than it normally did. Shaking his head, Naruto moved himself to what he had to do. He remembered that he hadn't been in the lower cells for a good period of time. It was most likely the time to change the seals on each of the walls. So Naruto resolved to do that. He walked around the corner of one of the nearby hallways of the house which connected two intersecting parts of the compound. Naruto's footsteps echoed along the wooden floorboards as he made his way around one of the houses. He opened the sliding door and moved himself inside. Naruto found himself in an empty room. The only thing inside of it was a bookcase and a large green tatami mat. Naruto walked along the tatami mat. His feet felt its comfortable allure. Naruto stomped his foot on one piece of the mat. He shook his head before he moved to the upper right of the mat. It wasn't there. Naruto sighed before he moved to the upper left and stomped on it. Nope, not there either. I swear I'm relocating this damn thing next time, Naruto thought to himself before he moved to the low left corner. Naruto stomped on it. Ah, hollow air. Naruto grinned before he pulled off a piece of the mat. He noticed a small wooden door etched into the floor. Naruto grabbed the latch and pulled it open. The door creaked fiercely. Naruto looked at the descending steps into the darkness. Naruto walked down them. His footsteps echoed on solid earth as he stepped lower and lower. After some time, Naruto appeared at the end of the cells. Truth be told, Naruto had never been down here. Apparently Haku and Rin had discovered the place when Rin was tidying up the compound. Or at least, that's what they told Naruto. He noticed iron bars tightly held by walls. Each wall was beset with at least 5 rows of cells. His eyes winced when the lights flickered on. Naruto walked through the cells, his footsteps echoing on the corridors. Naruto turned a small corner and took a glance at one of the seals on the wall. He quickly took out his paintbrush and updated the sealing matrix. Funny, now that Naruto thought about it, he did wonder how his ancestors had even begun the true sealing arts. His mother had always told him that the Uzumaki clan had proficiency with the arts, but he never truly understood their origin. Man, if Erika was here, then Naruto was sure he would be getting a 2-hour lecture. Naruto continued his walk, updating the seals as he went along. Naruto quickly passed by one of the cells. "Oi, come back!" Naruto heard someone shout. Naruto blinked before he turned around. He saw the hallway was empty. Freaking spirits! Naruto now felt like an idiot for ever being scared of ghosts. Well, more so than usual. I'm busy. Go haunt someone else, you stupid spirit. Naruto growled back before he continued on his way. You dumb blonde-haired piece of shit. I'm not dead yet. But I will be if I don't get some fucking food. Naruto paused in his walk and turned his head. Sheesh. This person reminded him of Tayuya. He paused his duties and walked back through the cells. Most of them were empty until he turned to the cell just beyond the corner he had finished previously. He blinked in surprise. You? You're still in there? Naruto asked. His vision was overcome with orange hair. The person who occupied his attention was decked out in gray prison garbs. A toothpick was in the person's mouth that flicked through their teeth. With the light, Naruto noticed the slight feminine touches on the person's clothes. Man, I thought Yugao let you out weeks ago. How long have you been down here, Shizaku? Naruto asked. The girl frowned as she glared at Naruto from her bed. The name's Shizuku, you asshat. Also, I've been down here for like 4 months. Give me a break here, she said. Naruto raised an eyebrow. He really hoped Yugao didn't just forget that she had a prisoner down here. Not like Naruto could ask her now. You haven't eaten in 4 months? Naruto asked. Shizuku frowned and she glared spitefully at Naruto. Her stomach growled. That answer your question? Shizuku asked. Naruto sighed. He took a good look at Shizuku. She was definitely thinner than he remembered, and he could tell that her face looked smaller. Her eyes also looked disoriented from the darkness. You know, if you wanted some food, you could have just asked, Naruto said. Shizuku's eyebrow twitched. She glared at Naruto with a fire of anger. She looked like she wanted nothing more than to turn him into a smoldering piece of charcoal on the ground. But she was hungry. And if he walked away from her because of her attitude, then she was sure he would leave her down to suffer. May I have some food, so that I can get some peace from hearing my damn stomach constantly? Shizuku asked lowly, which had caught Naruto by surprise. Naruto had intended for it to be a small joke, but he could tell from the look in the girl's eyes that she was not in the mood, and that most of her energy was severely drained. The thing with the seals around the cells was that they also limited chakra use. The Uzumaki were proud chakra users. Having chakra restricted was considered some of the worst taboo for the clan, as Kushina had taught him from her history lessons. Which is why most prisoners were able to retain some of their chakra. Chakra was never meant to be restricted. All right, but you better behave yourself. I'll talk to Yugao and get some things settled. Here, let me get you out, Naruto said, much to Shizuku's surprise. Shizuku watched Naruto move to the corner of the hallway to the seal matrix he had just fixed. Naruto quickly pushed some of his hanshou through it. Thank Kami, his mother had his power concentrated to where the seal could translate it just like it could with his Uzumaki blood. From her place, Shizuku heard the cell doors open and Naruto returned. He quickly grabbed her arm and lifted it over his shoulder. Naruto eased Shizuku out of the cells. Just let me finish up my work here and we'll get you something, Naruto replied. Shizuku just nodded and didn't offer any more words. Over the course of 10 minutes, Shizuku watched Naruto handle some of the mattresses from the seals on the cells. So where has your little group been all this time that you would forget about your own prisoner for 4 months? Shizuku asked. Naruto spared her a glance and Shizuku could almost see the look of embarrassment on Naruto's face. We had some stuff to do. We actually fought off a cult organization, Naruto said. Shizuku raised an eyebrow. You mean like those Jashin fuckheads? Shizuku asked. Naruto turned to Shizuku and raised an eyebrow. Damn, this girl almost reminded him of Tayuya. Kami, bless her foul mouth sometimes. Yeah, like those guys. We still kicked their asses in the end. What about you? Spending 4 months in a cell must have been boring, Naruto replied. He heard a snort from Shizuku, who had decided to sit against the wall. Well, counting the number of rats that scurry down here might be boring to some people, Shizuku said. Naruto resisted a shiver. Kami, that sounded like a punishment he couldn't give anyone. Naruto just continued his work. Shizuku watched him do so. She wasn't happy when Naruto laughed as her stomach growled, perhaps over the prospect of food. Shizuku hated it, and she hated the waiting. She had been able to steel her nerves and her bodily functions to restrain from any thoughts about food, but now that her jailer had let her go, well, the body was deciding to rebel. About 10 minutes of seal maintenance later, Naruto escorted Shizuku out of the cells. She stepped from the staircase and into first room she had since in the past 4 months. Naruto helped her across the patio. She looked out into the misty sky. Kami, it felt good to smell fresh air again. Then she walked with Naruto into the main room, and he set her at the table. What do you want? Anything particular? Naruto asked. Shizuku blinked at Naruto's generosity. Hell, she was so hungry she would have taken a piece of moldy bread. What can you make? No wait, scratch that shit. Make me something please, Shizuku said. Naruto blinked and then he followed that action with a shrug of his shoulders. He took some things out of the kitchen cabinet. He then placed some hot water in a boiling pot. It could take a couple of minutes, Naruto said. Shizuku really didn't care. She had waited for like 4 months. A couple more minutes weren't going to kill her. She hoped. Kushina came down the stairs in surprise of the glorious smell coming from the kitchen. She had redone her normal straight hair into a ponytail. She then fixed herself up just a tad with an outdoor shirt and some long weather pants. Kushina wasn't sure what she was expecting when she reached the end of the staircase. Maybe she was expecting her fiancé's son to be eating whatever concoction he had made while he waited for her. She just knew that she sure as hell wasn't expecting said fiancé to be cooking for. They're supposed to be prisoner. A small vein spiked on Kushina's head. Naruto, you'd better explain why she's out of her cell, Kushina said, which got Naruto and Shizuku to turn around. Naruto only grinned to himself. Come on, Ka-chan. She's been down there for 4 months. I think we can let her out now. Besides, you're the one who told me that if someone was hungry then I should never let them stay that way, Naruto said. Kushina scrunched up her face. She really hated her son twisting her words like that. Kushina tapped her foot before she looked at Shizuku. The orange-haired girl just patiently tapped her fingers on the ledge table. You know Yugao's going to be mad at you, right? Kushina asked. Naruto's grin faltered for a moment at the implications of angering the third female of the team. Yugao was pretty damn scary when she wanted to be. Naruto stopped stirring in his pot and turned. He gave his mother a smile that easily made her blush. Just trust me on this, Kei-chan. I got this, dat bayo, Naruto answered back. Kushina just looked at her son before she heaved out a sigh. Was this how many of her friends thought she acted? Kushina watched as Naruto placed a bowl of hot soup on the table, along with some bread and a few slices of cheese. Eat up, Naruto said with a wide grin. Kushina looked at the bowl and then at Shizuku, who was practically drooling at the sight of the food. Itadakimasu, Shizuku shouted as she raised her soup spoon into the air. Shikuzu dove her spoon forward, expecting to hear the soup of it hitting the broth. However, her spoon only hit the wood of the counter table. Shizuku noticed her food was gone. The fuck? She asked. She and Naruto turned to see Kushina holding said food in her hands. The redhead looked at Shizuku with a long stare. Naruto rose an eyebrow. Ka-chan, what are you? Naruto didn't get to finish before Kushina raised one of her hands, asking for her son's silence. Kushina turned back to Shizuku. One thing you can always count on is my son having a trusting nature to a fault, databane. I was accused of the same things back when I was his age, and it's for that reason that I think I'd better do this, Kushina said. Shizuku gave Naruto a glance before she glared back at Kushina. She couldn't take her eyes off the bowl that was in Kushina's right hand. Now I don't mind feeding you, but don't think that you're just going to get a free pass and just walk out of here before doing something else stupid, Kushina remarked. Shizuku's eyebrow twitched at the slight attack, but she didn't say anything. The orange-haired girl didn't like where any of this was currently heading, but it wasn't like she could just up and walk out. She doubted she would have even made it to the front door, let alone to the outside. What? You gonna chain me to a tree outside? Shizuku asked. Shizuku admitted that she liked to sass people. Perhaps she liked to do this a little too much. She figured this to be the case, because she really didn't like the gentle grin on Kushina's face. No, I don't think I'm going to do anything like that. I'm just going to offer you a choice. Either you can eat your soup and then go back to your cell. Or you can run upstairs, check on Shizune-san and Ebisu-san, make sure they are comfortable, and look after them while we're gone. Naturally, you can eat while you do this, Kushina said with a wide smile. Shizuku gawked. Are you forcing me to work for you, dicks? Shizuku asked. Kushina just grinned and held the soup out. Shizuku snarled as the warm smell filled her nose. She reached out her arm and attempted to snatch the bowl with her fastest speed, but one doesn't just move their limbs faster than a trained swordsman. Kushina swept the bowl from Shizuku and held it higher in the air. Shizuku growled. Forcing is such a terrible word, databane. Can we call it strict negotiating? She asked. Shizuku was speechless. This red-haired bitch had the absolute fucking nerve to even suggest that but Shizuku was freaking hungry. The bowl was there mocking her, taunting her, joking with her. Shizuku tightened her grip so much that she bent her soup spoon. "Am I going back to the prison cell after this?" Shizuku asked. Naruto looked at Shizuku in wonder before he looked back at his mother. Kushina merely smiled. "I don't think I need to do that. Plus, my son vouched for you, so I suppose I can take that into account, and find you a place to live while giving you some money since you will be working for us," Kushina said. Shizuku grumbled to herself before she pushed herself off her seat. She then inhaled deeply and held out her hands pleadingly. Kushina only smirked and lowered the bowl of food into Shizuku's hand. Conveniently, she didn't hear all of the profanity whispers from Shizuku's mouth as the orange-haired girl marched up the stairs with her food. Shizuku was going to shove this food down her throat if this was going to be her life now. Kami, she almost wanted to puke. Her, a former disciple of Morio, carrying out duties for the people who imprisoned her and nearly left her to rot. Shizuku sunk her spoon into the bowl of soup and then lifted it and placed it in her mouth. "Holy shit, this is fucking awesome!" Shizuku shrieked before she went through the halls. Meanwhile, Naruto and Kushina chuckled upon hearing Shizuku's declaration of Naruto's cooking. "You know, you could have just said that from before instead of the whole charade, Ka-chan," Naruto said. Kushina smiled with a nod. "True, but where's the fun in that?" she asked. Naruto grinned and shrugged his shoulders. However, his grin didn't stay because his mother grabbed his arm. "Now then, back to your obligation that you need to fulfill. We'll be going out for a little bit and then we'll come back and return to Konoha by nightfall. So, shall we get going?" Kushina asked. Naruto felt a chill on his spine. Somehow, he wasn't going to like this. He just knew that he wasn't going to like this. He and Kushina walked to the door and then quickly closed it. Both Uzumaki departed from their home structure. XL. Hard, yet precise footsteps walked through the halls of the Chuchikage Tower. The footsteps across back the great library of Iwagakure history, and then they passed by a door which held some of the area's staffing room. The footsteps walked up a fleet of stairs. The figure the footsteps belonged to quickly reached the top of the building and opened one of the doors to let them into another hallway. The figure's eyes took notice of two shinobi who guarded the door that separated ordinary men and women from the greatest shinobi to ever take seat in Iwagakure. "Oi, you two, is Gramps in there?" the figure asked, their voice a mixture of tomboyish arrogance and feminine curiosity. The two shinobi turned to the individual, and one of them stepped forward. "Glad to see you're in a good mood, Kuratsuchi. I understand that Tsuchikage-sama is your grandfather, but you must still show him the proper respect," the one said. A black mop of short hair adorned the face of the young woman named Kuratsuchi, as she gave the shinobi an almost mocking look with her mouth and her eyes. Most in Iwagakure knew of the granddaughter of the Chuchikage's lack of respect towards anyone, even those superior to her in position. It had gotten her into trouble many times in her life. At the young ages, it was kind of cute, but as the woman started to mature, it slowly got more and more irritating to some people. Yeah, look. I got some important stuff to talk with Gramps about." "Is he in or not?" Kuratsuchi asked. The guards gave lasting sighs before they gently knocked on the door. "Tsuchikage-sama, Jonin Kuratsuchi requests your presence," one of the guards called. There was a bit of silence behind the door for a moment, before they all finally heard a reply. "Let her in and close the door," came a very elderly reply. The guards opened the door and Kuratsuchi made her way past them. As she made her way through them, she watched the doors close behind her. Her nose scrunched up slightly. The smell of the room was a little stale and she didn't like it. "Oi, Gigi, would it kill you to open the window in here sometimes? Your little library makes it stuffy in here," Kuratsuchi said as she turned her eyes to the Chuchikage, her grandfather. He was a very short old man with a triangular beard and a mustache that had angular corners, a big red nose, and thick eyebrows. The top of his head was completely bald, and he wore a green and yellow coat with a red collar, thus signifying his position as one of Iwagakure's highest-ranking members. One glaring spot on his visage was his stubby red-brownish nose. "Didn't you say you had some important stuff to talk with me about instead of bothering an old man stuck with paperwork?" the Tsuchikage asked. Hiratsuchi gave a wide grin, but then quickly cleared her throat and released a small sigh. Iwagakure's participation for the Chunin exams in Sunagakure got finalized. "It's happening in a couple of weeks, right?" Kuratsuchi asked. The old Tsuchikage glanced up from his work. "Closer to a month and a half rather than a couple of weeks, but if it makes you feel any better, then you can call it that," he said with a light grunt before he placed another piece of paper in a pile. Hiratsuchi watched her grandfather work for a little while before both heard the door knock once again. The Tsuchikage sighed. It seemed like everyone wanted him today. "Enter," he called. Quickly, a kunoichi entered the room. She wiped a bead of sweat from her body before she straightened up. Hiratsuchi and the Tsuchikage seemed surprised at the girl's lack of breath. They noticed her hold up a clipboard. Kuratsuchi raised an eyebrow. It looked like she got here at a good damn time. "Reports from the investigation, Onoki-sama. Intel is still unable to ascertain what caused the collapse of the abandoned cavern mines that Sandem Tsuchikage-sama used. We have noticed that there is a lot of concentrated chakra in the area, but we have yet to ascertain any of it. There is also an unfamiliar type of energy circulating around the area, which seems even stronger than the chakra that we have encountered. We have lost 3 shinobi in our attempts to quell the volcanic activity from the mountain chamber," she said. Onoki pinched the bridge of his nose. Honestly, he had been told time and again that the mountains and their volcanic structure was dormant. How does it suddenly implode without any evidence? And then there was this chakra that came into the area. Something had happened, and what terrified the Tsuchikage was that he had no idea what it was. "I see. And has it been quelled?" he asked. The kunoichi looked over some of the reports for a moment, before she cleared her throat. "Well, for the most part it has. We have stationed a base of operations at the base of the mountains, with a wall that is protecting us from the flow of lava. We will keep monitoring the status," she said before she gave a bow and left the room. Hiratsuchi and Onoki watched her go. "Sounds serious. Don't want me to investigate with them?" Hiratsuchi asked. Onoki snorted. "I'm sure I can appreciate your talents elsewhere, Kuratsuchi. For the time being, you're going to be one of my guards along with Akatsuchi, so I want you both to be prepared for that. We have been informed that the Hokage and the Raikage will be attending this Chunin exam," Onoki informed her. Hiratsuchi frowned for a moment. "Konoha, right? News seems to float around their asses lately. You believe in that news about the Yondaimi's wife resurfacing? It's gotten most of Iwa on edge. Now we're chasing after ghosts, huh? Speaking of that, I also heard they got some new clan. The Uzumaki clan or something like that?" Kuratsuchi asked. She looked down, and she could see the steel in her grandfather's eyes. Kuratsuchi could see the slight way her grandfather gripped his pen, and the stiffness in his jawline. "Iwagakure is still recovering from the previous war, Kuratsuchi. I am not going to send off our people to fight a grudge. Konoha will be at the Chunin exams, and I will no doubt see Uzumaki Kushina there, along with her son and heir to the Uzumaki clan," Onoki said. Hiratsuchi scrunched her at the thought of meeting the heir of the Uzumaki clan, the spawn of the Yondaime Hokage. She imagined the heir having blonde hair just like his monster of a father. The thought made her angry. The thought of that heir just breathing upset her. Hiratsuchi calmed herself down. "Yeah, sure, whatever you say, Gramps. I'll see you later and before I head out on my next assignment," Kuratsuchi said. Onoki waved her away, and she left without a word. The office slowly fell into silence. Only the tapping of pen upon paper was heard. The great fence-sitter, as he was sometimes called by from reputable sources, continued his work. His thoughts were a constant jumble. The Yondaime Hokage's wife was confirmed alive. The wife of the man who had decimated over 1,000 of his forces, and essentially turned the tide of one fought-over objective in one day, was alive, along with an heir. Onoki had heard the rumors about the battle between Otogakure, Sanagakura, and Konohagari. He heard about the Sandan being killed by Orochimaru of the Sannin. It had been a state of disarray for Konoha. It was one that not even the great fence-sitter could pass up on the opportunity to strike even finer blows against Konoha's structure. Onoki had contacted his spies within Konoha, and he had gotten back interesting information. Onoki hadn't been able to acquire a picture, but he acquired the name of the shinobi who had managed to defeat the Ichibi Jinchuriki. Uzumaki Naruto, Onoki thought to himself. Onoki stopped writing and took a deep breath. He got up and looked out the window at his village. How long had it been since his grandfather, the Shodan Tsuchikage, taught him about the will of stone? Onoki would do anything to see to the prospering of his village and his people. He was the Tsuchikage and he had to care for his village first and foremost, even at the cost of others. Are you positive that this will work? Onoki asked. From the shadows of his bookcase came the figure, a foreign uniform that he had seen too many times in his life. The black pants, gray chest plate, and animal mask. Obviously an Anbu, but this one was so very young. Of course, every shinobi village had these, but Onoki knew that these weren't his own shinobi. Hi. The broker has decided to meet with you in person. There are no restriction on your part, but we ask that we keep things civil. Here is the information that you want. We shall await your reply, the figure said. Onoki watched as the young Anbu threw the folder on his desk. Onoki glanced at the folder, but he watched the young Anbu slowly vanish away out of the corner of his eye. Onoki turned his full attention to the folder. His hands grazed over it. In here was information that could topple Konoha if handled right. Onoki held up the file and glared at it. He then opened it, and inside he found a stunning picture which nearly made him grip the folder in slowly boiling rage. They were exactly the same. Everything was the same. Uzumaki Naruto, Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Yoko and heir to the Uzumaki clan, son of the Yondaime Hokage, and Uzumaki Kushina, Onoki said to himself as he glared at the image of Naruto's portrait. The blonde had steeled eyes upon looking at the camera. Onoki felt like those eyes were staring directly at him. Onoki closed his eyes, and with a deep breath he slammed the paper on his table, and then placed it in a folder. This broker had come to Onoki 6 months ago with information pertaining to Konoha. Of course, the first time the information came, Onoki had killed the messenger and swiftly had it delivered back to the broker. But the broker had the audacity to send one just the day after that one he had killed. Onoki hadn't trusted the man then, and he didn't trust him now. But this information that he was given about Konoha's structure was unprecedented. Not even some of his best spies had pulled off all this detail. The clans, their weaknesses, and even the areas of combat they excelled at. Onoki couldn't ignore it, and so for 6 months had been trading information with this broker, discreetly. Onoki closed his eyes and sighed. Kage did anything for his village? Anything? XL. Yuri walked back to the main compound. She figured that she had to get her stuff ready for the return trip to Konoha, and after that would be training. She was going to be put as an extra member of Team Konohamaru under Abisu, or at least that was what she was told anyway. Yuri figured it was best that they all return to Konoha. Not to mention, but Naruto's team still had to officially declare their mission accomplished. I guess I can check on Shizune-san and Abisu-san, Yuri said as she walked up to the door. Yuri opened the door and took off her shoes. Her feet touched the familiar carpet rug which led into the living room. She smelled the air. It smelled very good. I guess Noe-chan did some cooking, Yuri said to herself before she walked through the living room. She made her way up a flight of stairs. She hadn't been expecting anyone to be home, which is why she wanted to get her packing done then, since it was quiet. Given this to be the case, one could imagine her surprise when she saw an orange-haired young woman grumbling with 2 glasses of water in her hands. Yuri watched as she went into the room for Shizune, and then into the room for Ebisu. Cheech, why do I have to play freaking nursemaid? I didn't sign up for this. Stupid freaking stomach, Yuri heard the woman say. The young Uzumaki decided to make her presence known. She quickly walked up to the woman and tapped her now the shoulder, which made the woman flinch and jump back in surprise. "What the fuck is wrong with your girlie? Don't touch me like that." "It's creepy," she said. Yuri blinked before she gave a light frown. "Aren't you the person who's being creepy? You're in someone else's house, Datbayan. What are you doing in here?" Yuri asked suspiciously. Shizuku snarled as she tightened her grip on the tray she was holding. "I am fucking playing nursemaid thanks to a redhead bimbo and her lemonade hairstyle, son. What's it to ya?" Shizuku shouted before she marched off down the stairs. Yuri watched Shizuku go before her eyes went up to the ceiling and thought, "Redhead bimbo, lemonade hairstyle, son. Is she taking about Newai-chan and Kushina-san?" Yuri thought to herself. Well, if that was the case, then Yuri wasn't about to bother asking. Sometimes even she didn't understand her brother. Yuri just gave a short sigh and turned to face the door which held Shizukato. Yuri still felt burning in her body, but she at least felt a little better, if a bit sore.